Hello and welcome to Recently Watched, the show where two jackasses talk about movies and TV shows they recently watched. My name is Justin Ashley, and joining me is self-proclaimed sex guru Kevin Lackner.
Thank you for having me. Thank you very much.
It's an honor. It's an honor to have you returning to the Tuneem Media studio here.
We're so back. As they say.
Yeah. it was interesting. It was interesting not having you on the technical third episode of Recently Watched.
Yeah,
so,
you guys did a great job. That was the Friday the 13th.
That was the Friday the 13th one, yes.
Nice.
Mark kept your seat warm there while you were off vacationing in Dubai or whatever the hell you were doing.
Nice and cozy.
Yeah. What were you doing? You were just
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, okay. To be clear, I'm not, and I don't. So I was just bringing it up more for content for the listeners.
I told you beforehand that I wouldn't be answering questions about my whereabouts. So I'd appreciate if we stick to the
last 2 to 3 months. Well, Mark did a great job filling in for you. That was a very special episode. If you haven't watched it, Mark Skews and myself, Mark from Tales from the Toy Store, our podcast series, which is probably dead now, thanks to the new one we just started. Mark and I did a complete ranking of every Friday the 13th movie. It was a over 4-hour podcast.
It was good.
It was a marathon podcast. I'm very happy with how it came out. Go and check it out if that interests you at all. So now we had so much fun doing that. I don't know what's going to come of this. Originally, it was going to be, once in a while, Mark's going to guest star on Recently Watched, and we're going to do a very specific topic. I think that more than likely, we're going to be spinning this off into a new podcast series.
Nice.
So we'll keep Recently Watched just between the two of us for now.
I believe you guys hinted that you would be doing like other
Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah. Okay,
Halloween.
I wasn't sure.
Oh yeah. No, it's all on the table. Yeah. So if you're not familiar with the format, it's your first time listening, literally it is the most laid-back, simple movie and TV discussion on the internet as a podcast. We do not have a specific agenda for this. I don't know what he has brought to talk about. He doesn't know what I've brought to talk about. We are literally just talking about random movies and TV shows that we've watched. These could be brand new releases. These could be movies that are from the 60s. Anything's on the table.
Yep.
Yeah. Without further ado, shall we get into it? Because I have a big list.
Yeah, let's get into it.
Yeah, we're overdue.
All right, you can start us off then. Yeah,
I'll kick us off with a movie. I watched. Have you ever heard of Payback? 1999's Payback.
I don't think. I mean, it's a pretty generic name, but nothing's coming to mind.
This movie.
I've seen that poster before.
Yeah. I've seen. That's a very not necessarily iconic, but it's a very popular poster that you would have seen.
I feel like
Mel
I saw
Gibson
it in like
the video rental
stores.
Yeah, 1999. This I'm certain this probably even had like a VHS tape.
Mel Gibson.
Yeah,
get ready to root for the bad guy.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll get into this. Basic plot is it's like a neo-noir action thriller.
Yeah.
Mel Gibson plays, I don't even know the name of his character. He's like generic tough guy that worked inside some, like, he was like a hired muscle guy. And
is he an ex-cop or something, or just like
he like worked in some, like, I think it's called the Syndicate.
Is this wait, is this after he got kicked off the force?
No, it says nothing.
In Lethal Weapon?
Yeah. No, he's not like a cop at all.
Okay.
He's just like,
all right.
So he's some like ex-muscle guy in like, I don't know. He's like a gun for hire type of guy. And he has this girlfriend who's like kind of sleazy, and he has some business, or he had some like friend who was like a partner of his, and they pulled jobs together. And literally the introduction of the movie is his friend and girlfriend, I guess it's his ex-wife, double cross him and shoot him and leave him for dead.
Okay.
So that's the
during a job, like kind of thing.
Right at the end of a job.
Okay.
So it's like they pull off this big heist and they steal somebody's money they shouldn't have stolen. It's like some drug lord's money or some shit. And then like they're gonna get away with it, and then the friend like betrays him and shoots him and leaves him for dead.
Sounds very like typical sort of cliche crime action.
Extremely cliche. It's extremely formulaic. It's got Mel Gibson like narrating too. So he's got like
did he like direct this?
Like, I don't
produce
know.
Because why would he do this? Like after all the Lethal Weapons, I have to imagine it's either like a named director, or he has an involvement in it, or it's just like he needed a paycheck.
He needed a pay. Well, Mel Gibson did a bunch of these like crappier. Like he also did like Ransom. Remember that one?
Yeah.
He did a lot of these like action thriller movies that were all just kind of but like nobody really. He didn't. It's been a while since like Lethal Weapon, you know. Like I guess this.
Well, when was
this? Is
last?
around the time. Well, no, because Lethal Weapon 4 I think is 98.
Yeah, so this is like coming off the heels of that,
right? Which is Lethal Weapon 4 is fucking amazing.
But then like in the 2000s, he started directing, or was his first movie like Apocalypto or something? Or?
Oh, I don't know. I couldn't tell you that. But,
okay,
but
I don't know.
So back to Payback. It starts off and it's very just like he's left for dead. He ends up surviving his gunshot wounds,
of course,
and he finds like this back alley doctor who like patches him up, and literally like he's pouring like alcohol on his like wounds to actual alcohol to like sanitize the wounds.
I love that trope, the back alley doctor that's like
the crime doctor,
a veterinarian, but it's like, oh, there's this back room where I patch up like crooks,
right?
Like yeah. Okay,
so he's getting like patched up, and then immediately he's just like, I'm going to get revenge on these fucking guys. I'm going to go get my ex-partner, my ex-wife, and they double-crossed me. And like that's his personality. Is like his personality is just generic, gruff, tough guy.
Yeah. Okay.
I did not like this movie. It's bland. It's formulaic. It's ugly as fuck. The entire movie just has this like dark, gross look to it. It's not like, it doesn't look, the cinematography is like, it's very muddled looking. It looks like dingy crap.
Well, this is 99, right?
Well, they're trying to do like the noir look, but the problem is like most neo-noir I find looks like just muddy crap. Like I don't think it looks good personally.
Well, no, I think what happened in the late 90s was Fincher came out with like 7.
Right, but that looks beautiful.
Yeah.
Even dark, that looks beautiful.
But then everyone was like,
tried to ape that.
Yeah,
right.
We have to do that.
That's not what this is. So I'm saying it's like this is like that. Sorry, that's what this is. This is the let's try to make 7, because didn't 7 come out in like 97?
I think so, yeah. Well, and also Fight Club has that gritty look too.
Right,
Yeah,
and that's also
Fincher.
David Fincher.
Yeah.
So it's like it's also a acclaimed director who can pull the aesthetic off, right?
The gritty.
No, that's not what this is.
Okay.
So it looks like crap. I didn't I only got like 40 minutes in, and I was like, "Fuck this."
Oh, you didn't finish
Oh
it.
God,
Okay.
no, God, no!
Yeah.
It's so fucking generic. It's so like bleak.
But is this an
There's, like-
action film? Is there like action set pieces where he like guns people down?
Yeah,
and
but they're
stuff?
not particularly good. Like, there's nothing. Like, don't expect anything like Lethal Weapon quality of like, action set pieces and shit. It's all like generic, like shoot 'em up, quick shit. Nothing crazy good.
So why did you?
Sucks.
What caused you to like turn out? Like, were you following the plot? Was he gonna go get revenge?
Yeah, that's the whole. So literally, it starts off where he's like doing this like dreary narration about how like everything's fucked and he's gonna, and now he's only got one mission in life, and it's to set things straight and get back the people that fucked him over. So he starts off and he's got nothing, like he was left for dead. It's so generic. It's so it's like you've seen this movie a million times. Like there's nothing that sets it apart. It's just like I'm getting bored just saying it. It's literally
everything you described sounds like the type of movie my dad would put on and like fall asleep.
Yeah,
watching.
Right. This would be on like daytime television.
I'd come home and be like, "What are you watching?" He'd be like, "I don't know." Like,
Payback.
And I'd be like,
Mel Gibson's in it or something. Yeah, no, literally, it's like. I got left for dead, and now I gotta find a back alley doctor to patch me up, and I gotta find that son of a bitch. But first, I gotta find some clean fucking clothes and get something to eat. And and that's it. That's the movie. That's as far as I got. If you want more than I'll fucking kill you. I got to the part where I think he got revenge on the main guy, or he gets revenge on somebody. It's also like needlessly like dark and bleak and not fun. Like the tone is not fun at all.
Yeah.
So like he finds his ex-wife and like tries to reconcile with her, and she ends up overdosing and dying.
Oh, Jesus.
Which is like, Jesus Christ. I was like, was this necessary? Like, such a, yeah, I know. Like,
yeah,
that's heinous. Like, that was a choice. Yeah.
So it's like depressing then. It's
yeah,
like
it's not fun.
bleak.
It's not fun. I don't know. I've heard people speak highly of it as like, oh, it's like one of the better action movies from the 90s.
Yeah, that was my next question. How did it get on your list to watch? To be like, ooh, this is got
literally that. I heard it was like, because I love the Lethal Weapons franchise. I like Mel Gibson. This is like not golden era action Mel Gibson. This is like, again, around the time of Lethal Weapon 4. Did he still have it? Yes, because he's incredible in Lethal Weapon 4, but it's still not him in his prime per se.
Yeah.
And could there have been a good movie here? Sure. I just think it's so ugly looking. His character sucks. All the characters suck. The story's generic and flat. It's just a wet fucking fart. I hated this movie. I was just like, fuck this.
There's no
Turn
other
it off.
name actors that caught your attention in it?
I'm sure there was a few people. The scummy friend guy, he looks very familiar, but I couldn't place what he's one of those like that guy faces. It's like I didn't know exactly what he was. I think his wife is Rebecca De Mornay. Is that an actress? I am so terrible with actresses' names here. I'll look up Payback real quick. And so you've never heard of this at all?
No. Like I said, it sounds like a generic sort of action film that I might have seen the poster for back in the day.
Yeah, you would be forgiven for not actually having seen this. Maria Bello. Oh, Bill Duke's in it. I didn't remember that. Okay. John Glover's in it too. David Paymer.
David
Paymer's in it. If you don't know who David Paymer is, just type in David Paymer and you'll be like, oh, that guy, because he's in like everything.
The ultimate that guy.
Yeah, he's a what I will call a facial actor. If you just need someone to be in scenes to react with a distinct looking face, you hire David Paymer. Because 90% of what he does in films is go. If you're just listening to the podcast here, I just did a funny face. Lucy Liu's in this, apparently. I didn't even remember that. Fuck this movie. It's like a 7.1 on IMDb.
That's pretty good for IMDb.
Yeah, I know. It's very good for IMDb. So, like, I guess I'm wrong. I guess the film's amazing. It's like some amazing action movie. I don't know. Fuck this movie. That's all I want to say about Payback. I don't have any, it just didn't hook me. I didn't find it particularly. There's nothing engaging. Like, there's nothing that hooks you where you're like, oh, I got to keep watching this. It's like, I'm so sick of the, like, I don't mind a down on his luck character, but like Mel Gibson's character is so devoid of like any humanity or like, he's just so needlessly like gritty and dark written.
There's nothing you're really rooting for there.
No, it's just like, and all the other characters suck, and it's so ugly looking, and it's edited like just crap. It's like choppily edited. It fucking sucks. All right, moving on.
All right, what's the next one?
I got a big list here, so we're mostly going to be doing a lot of my picks. I think you told me you only have a couple?
I only have a couple to talk about.
So you interject whenever you want. I'll keep going here. Okay, I'm certain you watched this. I will be surprised.
Ooh, okay.
This is from 2022. This is Everything Everywhere at Once.
Yes, I did watch this.
You did watch this.
It was like one of the movies of like 2022.
2022.
Yeah,
yes.
of course.
We haven't talked about it.
No, I don't think we have.
We have not talked about it. No. Okay, so basic premise of this film, which is very hard to explain because it's
sort of
convoluted tricky as fuck.
Yeah.
But here's my attempt. So it follows a woman and her husband who run a crappy little laundromat.
Yep.
The woman is played by don't say it. I gotta get it. Michelle Yeoh.
Yep, Michelle Yeoh.
Yeoh. The husband is played by Ke Huy Quan.
I think it's KK or Ke Quan.
Ke Quan.
I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing
it. I know, that's why I wrote it down. Ke Huy Quan.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I'm mispronouncing that. I apologize. This is basically like a return to acting for him.
Yeah.
Because he's mostly known as Short Round in Indiana Jones and Data from the Goonies.
Yeah,
so like literally the little like quirky, funny Asian boy from those films.
Like iconic child actor from like two huge movies in the 80s.
Right. So this is kind of crazy that he came back and was like a main starring, like high build character in a film. And basic premise is the two of them own a laundry shop and they're struggling financially. And they end up getting into a little bit of hot water with the IRS, and they end up getting audited. And their lead auditor is Jamie Lee Curtis, which is random as fuck, but sure, why not? So then they go to the meeting to get audited. And in the middle of the meeting, the husband character, which I don't know what we want to call him. I forget his name in the movie, but the husband, the K Kwan character, all of a sudden completely switches his personality and gets taken over by an alternate version of him from a separate universe. So this is a movie about multiverses. And it gets revealed that there are multiple, basically infinite universes.
Yeah, basically infinite.
And and there's infinite versions of every person.
Yeah.
And every person, all of those infinite versions of you are all based on subtle little decisions you've made over the course of your life that influenced everything.
Yeah. You're missing one other thing is that the couple, like Yo and Kwan, working the laundromat, they have a young daughter.
I'm getting to that. No, I'm getting to that. No,
right,
I'm getting to that because that's the main conflict.
Yeah.
So they have an estranged, you're right, yes, they have an estranged daughter, but I was going to bring that up because she's the main antagonist in the film.
Yes.
So they have an estranged daughter who they're not super close with. And she doesn't live with them. I had to think about that for a second. She doesn't live with them because they live at the laundromat, but she doesn't live with them. I don't believe.
I can't remember.
I don't think so, but so they have a strained relationship, and the alternate version of K Kwan. Did I say it right?
Yeah.
I just got to bring up the character's name because it's going to drive me insane because I really should know this. So I'm saying the name properly here. Oh, Waymond. There we go. Waymond. Okay, yeah, it's Evelyn. Yeah. Evelyn is Michelle Yeoh, and Waymond is K Kwan. Okay, so Waymond gets taken over by an alternate version of himself and tells Evelyn, look, your universe, your reality, and in fact, all realities are in grave danger because there's an alternate version of your daughter, and the daughter's name is Joy, and the alternate version of Evelyn and Waymond's daughter has, because of some experiment gone wrong, her mind splintered across the entire multiverse, and it has now made her essentially mad, and she decides to wipe out all existence, essentially. She's like, in order to simplify reality, she's going to collapse all reality.
Yeah, she's collapsing all the other multiverses
into one singularity.
Yeah.
If this sounds heady and nonsensical, trust me, you don't really have to understand what the explanation is to enjoy the film.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know that that's necessary, but we're trying to break down the plot here. So then what follows is Michelle Yeoh's character Evelyn and the alternate Waymond, with the alternate Waymond's guidance, end up Michelle Yeoh is able to Evelyn is able to tap into the alternate versions of herself from other universes, and it allows her to pull their skill set.
Yes.
And that's where it gets interesting. Yeah. Because the Waymond that takes over her husband's body is from what they call, I think it's the alpha verse or alpha reality. I think it's alpha.
I don't quite remember, but in her version, her husband is like meek and mild and polite, and he's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." He's very quiet, and the version that keeps like popping up is like a hero. He's like,
he's confident.
He's
he's an action hero, basically.
Action hero. Yeah.
And Evelyn is the equivalent to her reality's Waymond, where she's like
just a normal person who's just
normal, down on her luck, no particular skills per se. I think they say they chose her because she actually was like the biggest failure among all of the alternate versions of her.
Yeah, she's
there is something
technically
about her that
the most mundane of all.
Yeah, she's like
versions
basically
of
the most
herself.
bland version of herself. She
Yeah.
is which is very
Which is
insulting.
fun. Yeah, but it's fun. Yeah,
yeah. And that's why they end up going to her, because she has the most potential to use this technology on. So from this one alpha verse, the alternate Michelle Yeoh from that, the Evelyn from that alpha verse has created a technology which allows you to tap your mind and connect it to the alternate versions of yourself, which allows you to pull their abilities into yourself and use what they can do. So let's say there's an alternate version of yourself that is an MMA fighter. You could pull that skill set from them and use that. Or you have another alternate version of yourself that is a ballerina. You could pull that from you, or an actor or a singer or whatever.
Yeah.
So you become kind of like an ultimate human in a sense. You'd be at like peak human abilities, conditions, and skill set. That's the idea. But then there's the main antagonist, Joy, the daughter, and she goes by a different name in the movie.
Yeah.
I don't remember what it is. Let's see if I can quickly see if it says this. I'm not. I'm trying to look for like the. Do you see it here anywhere?
I'm taking a look.
Nah, I don't see it. It doesn't matter. We'll just say her daughter Joy, but she goes by a different name.
That's right. Yeah.
She basically like,
because it's a reveal that it's actually the daughter is causing all of this, and when she shows up, it's like, oh shit, like
and the whole thing with the daughter is the alpha version of her daughter, the one where the experiment went horribly wrong and her mind splintered and it caused her to go mad. She has now gained the ability to manipulate reality itself.
Yeah.
So she can manipulate matter. She's basically a walking god.
Yeah. Because I think she's fused all other versions into herself as she's going, kind of thing, or something.
I didn't quite understand how she got that ability. Again, the plot is extremely convoluted. But it doesn't ruin it. That's the thing. It's like, it's not, you don't necessarily need to know all this shit. Like, you don't really need to understand it. All you need to know is like, there's a big boogeyman that's the daughter, and she has these incredible, fantastical abilities.
Yeah, and also like the overarching like lore and backset that they have doesn't matter, because ultimately the daughter's motivation for collapsing reality and stuff is very simple. It's based on like her relationship to her family, and like she's basically depressed, is what I gathered when I watched it. Like, she's like, none of this matters, and like we might as well like collapse.
She becomes nihilistic.
She's nihilistic.
Well, no, because literally what ends up happening is she goes mad in the sense that it's like, when you look into the abyss looks back. Basically, what happens is her mind splinters across all realities, so it makes her. It gives her this existential crisis where she's basically just like, nothing matters. There's infinite realities.
She can see into every eventuality and stuff, and she's like, none of this matters.
She's basically just like, life is pointless, essentially. So it's like, she becomes nihilistic, and she's like, let's just end all of this. That's the idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the basic premise. It gets, that's like even just touching surface level, but essentially
we also forgot James Hong.
Oh no, I didn't forget him. Yeah, okay. James Hong's in it. Yeah, so there's also the father played by James Hong. James Hong, I think, is like 93 in this movie or something insane. He's in his 90s. I remember looking it up when I saw he was in it. He plays like an eccentric grandfather in the movie. He is, I believe, Evelyn's father. Evelyn's actual father. I don't think it's Wayman's father. And he's just like an eccentric, fun character that lives with them and lives in the lives with them at the laundromat. But he also is from, like, there's a version of him from the Alphaverse, and he actually becomes a pseudo-villain.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. Because his goons start hunting Evelyn. Yes.
Yeah.
Because what ends up happening is I think he's actually called Gong Gong. Yeah, it's Gong Gong. Yeah, Gong Gong. So the grandfather character decides that the only way to stop Joy, the mad god, is for Evelyn to kill her actual daughter in that reality.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yes.
It's been a while. I watched it when it came out.
Yeah, and she refuses. She's like, absolutely not. So then she becomes the target of the Alpha Universe group that's trying to take out the Joy character. So you actually have two antagonists in the film. You've got the Mad God, and then you've got the organization. And Evelyn and Waymond are kind of caught in the middle.
And what's the thing they call it, like when Joy's collapsing all the realities? She's like,
oh, the everything bagel.
I made a bagel.
I made an everything bagel.
A bagel with everything on it.
Yeah, it's an everything bagel with everything on it. Yeah. She's collapsing all the realities into a literal like black hole bagel.
Yeah. Anyway, that's the basic plot. What follows is, I guess,
what follows journey. Is madness. The movie's madness. Honestly, if it sounds like what we're saying is madness, try watching it. It is. Yeah. It is. It's. I did like the film. I'll start with that.
I liked it.
I liked it a lot. But does it get a little up its own asshole at times? Absolutely.
Of course.
It's very convoluted and hard to follow. I do wish it was just like a little bit more simplified, because like by the time you get to the midway point, you're just like, sure, whatever. Like they can literally say anything by the midway point of the film. It's like, we just accept it because it's like, sure,
it becomes
whatever.
Pure creativity, because eventually they're leapfrogging through different things, and like you've got really crazy versions of the characters. Like obviously the iconic ones are like the hot dog fingered versions of themselves, and then they jump into a reality where it's like a parody of Ratatouille with like the raccoon,
Rackanui,
Raccacoonie,
yeah,
and that's all fun. I didn't mind how like insane it gets and how crazy it gets, because that's like makes sense with multiverses of infinite possibilities of creativity.
That's fun.
What I found to be overwhelming at times is like how breakneck. Like it's a long movie, if I recall. I
think it's like 2 hours,
maybe 2 hours, but it's so breakneck and tonally shifting that it's like sometimes like, holy shit, like it's a lot. It's a lot of like sensory stuff.
Yep. I know exactly what you mean.
I did really like it. So let's hear your thoughts.
So I think the plot is kind of whatever. So it's like, if you put this plot to the side, what are you left with? You're left with incredible visuals, some of the best visuals in a film ever. Like ever. I'm literally underlining that. It is a gorgeous, fucking creative, artistic film. So you got that. That's
the choreography. You have Yo and Quan like doing martial arts. It's a martial arts movie.
Incredible action set pieces. Incredible choreography. Incredible acting.
Incredible. Yeah. Yes.
This is Michelle Yeoh's probably best performance ever.
Yep.
I'm going to put that out there. Her range in this, not just her, everybody's range in this is incredible. Yeah. It might be, so I'm trying to like take this in bullet points. The problem is there's so much to talk about. So much to talk about with it. But I'll try to go slow here.
Yeah.
So incredible visuals, incredible choreography, incredible creativity in the visuals, incredible cinematography, incredible performances. All of the main cast have to play. They play the bland version of themselves in the universe the film takes place in. But then we reality hop, and they go from universe to universe. Every time they go to a new universe, they're playing a completely different version of themselves.
Yes. Yeah.
And everybody nails it. Not one of the actors dropped the ball.
Even Jamie Lee Curtis has to play wacky versions.
Even Jamie Lee Curtis,
and she's just like a IRS agent at a computer desk. That's like, okay, well,
she's playing like a stereotypical like loser, middle-aged woman that works an office job that just hates the world, essentially. Yeah, and she's like playing like a Karen type character.
Yeah, but even she, like there's multiple versions of her that have like different,
including one where her and Evelyn are lovers.
Yeah, that's right.
They go so crazy with the alternate universes that it's just such a joy to watch all the different versions play out. So Michelle Yeoh has insane range in this film. She plays so many different versions of herself, and each one feels like a different version of herself. Meanwhile, she's playing like the troubled, torn, like the original version of Evelyn, who's going through all this shit and like the weight of all this being dumped on her, and while also trying to just like basically her reality, gets upended.
Yeah.
And she does such a good job grounding that character that it feels so real and authentic. She won the Oscar.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. This movie swept up a lot of Oscars.
Deservedly so. For me, though, the biggest performance in this film is Ke Huy Quan.
Yeah.
I'm like speechless because this is someone that was a child actor. It's the equivalent of like, imagine Corey Feldman out of nowhere just did a film and won an Oscar.
Like an Oscar.
That's literally what he did.
Yeah. And rightfully so.
Incredible performance. Yeah. Incredible. I'm also going to give him credit for his fucking choreography. Who knew he was like, he fucking moves in this movie.
We can sort of expect that Yo would be like amazing at the martial arts.
She was a martial arts action star.
But for him to come out and do it too was like, holy shit.
Yeah, and good. And it's believable. It's very good. This was the resurrection of his career. And I mean, what a fucking beautiful way to come back.
Yeah.
One of the things, so he's incredible in this. His range is just next level. Like the different the different versions he plays. One of the things I like about this film the most is it, and I'm gonna jerk off about A24 for a second because this is one of A24's releases. Yeah. It's giving actors that aren't the stereotypical name actors a fucking chance to shine.
Yeah.
Give other people a chance, and who knows what they'll give you. And this is who the fuck would have expected Michelle Yeoh to deliver an Oscar-winning performance?
Yeah. Well, I believe
to me, I'm like action star Michelle Yeoh. Like it's the equivalent of being like, we're gonna give Cynthia Rothrock this role right now, and it's like, what? Where is this coming from? And then just fucking nails it out of the park, right?
Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah.
I believe the directors of this film are like two either brothers or partners or two like best friends, and it's like a tag team thing, like the Coens kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I can't remember what their other films are. You should look it up. But
everything they do is
they basically it's all conceived by them.
Oh, here, I'll look it up while you're talking here. Daniel Kwan.
Yeah.
Directed.
Well, go back one just to
what?
Just go back to the Everything Everywhere.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because I believe it's Daniel Kwan and
Daniel
Scheinert.
Scheinert?
Yeah.
Okay.
So directed and written by
these two guys.
These two guys.
Yeah, I don't think they're brothers. No, they're definitely not brothers.
Two like co-workers.
They're blood
friends.
brothers.
Yeah.
The other movie they directed was Swiss Army Man, which is
I've never seen that.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It was a little too artsy fartsy for me, but it's creative.
When they did
There's nothing really else in their resume though that like stands out. That was like their only other claim to fame.
Yeah. So when they did that movie, I saw a thing where someone was like, "Oh, what's your next film?" And they're like, "Oh, we want to do this crazy multiverse movie. We have this wild idea." And they pulled it off for like their second film, I guess. Like their second
major film. Yeah.
They like went balls to the wall and used Michelle Yeoh and all these people and like conceived of this whole thing and then pulled it off and swept the Oscars. So it's like they're now like their next
ticket.
Project.
Yeah. They can now punch their ticket on basically whatever project they want in Hollywood, right?
So no, it was an exciting thing last year.
Jamie Lee Curtis has insane range in this. Stephanie Hugh, like Joy, the daughter, she was very good. She's so good at playing the tortured villain. What else can I gush about this movie?
Also, what I appreciated was that despite how crazy and wild the whole multiverse thing is, the story, like I said, was quite simple. It's a story about like the love you share between your family members and how it's important to love one another and stuff. It condenses, much like the Everything Bagel, into just like a simple like family
love is everything story.
Yeah,
it's basically just like at the root of all, which is the counter to existentialist,
like, nihilism.
The counter to nihilism is basically like love and human connection.
Yeah.
So and that's the main message of this film.
That works. Yeah. Any criticisms of the movie? Anything?
So I think for me, one of the problems with the movie, and I liked it a lot, like I've been gushing about it, is it like balances on a fucking razor blade between being serious and being absurdist.
Yes.
And it literally, the entire film, they're walking on a razor's edge. And like, it's just so like, at times it becomes too goofy. Like it becomes too absurdist, but then they bring you right back. And I wish it leaned a little bit more towards one or the other. Me, I wish it was a little bit more serious and a little less
I did not see
insane.
I did not see it in theaters. I watched it on streaming.
Me too.
And I remember vividly watching it, and like I was maybe, I don't know, half an hour in when like stuff started getting crazy, and my wife came in, and she was like, I can't take this because it's like leapfrogging between serious and crazy and stuff. And maybe if she had started like the movie with me, but it was like just a little bit too much, and she came in, she was like, I don't know what's going on.
It's very overwhelming.
This is very overwhelming. Yeah. She's like, you watch this, I'm just gonna.
This is a movie you don't put on in the background. You sit down and watch this. Like you cannot. So
you have to commit to its madness.
Yeah, you can't
weirdness.
just throw this shit on in the background and follow what's going on. You have to sit down and watch this for sure. Yeah. It's good though. I highly recommend it. Highly recommend Everything Everywhere All at Once.
I would too.
It's a fun movie. The performances are incredible. Did I mention that Hugh Kwan won the Oscar? I don't think I did. I think he said
he won the Oscar.
Yeah, he won the Oscar for I don't know. Was it a lead actor?
I think it was supporting. I think I can't remember.
I can't remember either. But he won an Oscar for his performance, deservedly so.
Jamie Lee Curtis also won an Oscar for it.
For this?
Yes.
I didn't know she won for this.
Yes.
Oh,
wow. Look it up.
Are you? Is that true? I don't know where they hide awards on this. It's probably the best Jamie Lee Curtis performance out there. I've never been a huge fan of Jamie Lee Curtis.
So winning and leading 7 awards out of 11 nominations. Yep. Best Picture, Best Actress for Yo, Best Supporting Actor for Kwan, Best Supporting Actress for Curtis.
Wow, I didn't know. So now Jamie Lee Curtis is an Oscar.
Best Director and Best Original Screenplay for Kwan and Scheinert.
Deservedly so.
And Best Film Editing. So it's swept.
Deservedly so.
So
it was incredible.
Curtis won an Academy Award for this.
That's
film.
crazy to think she's now an Oscar because I've never been a huge Jamie Lee Curtis fan.
But you're like the big 80s horror guy.
Right.
Like you love Halloween. You love all that stuff.
And Donald Pleasance is the one that owns those movies, not Jamie Lee Curtis. In my opinion, I always thought she was kind
bold words here, folks.
Yeah, I always thought she was bland and generic.
Yeah.
She's just like a screaming damsel in distress.
She's the ultimate scream queen of the 80s.
She's not.
So.
No. I'm not giving her that.
Okay,
no, that's
okay.
like
that's another discussion.
No, I'm not giving her that title. Fuck that.
I'm not the huge 80s horror guy, so I don't know.
What I'm saying is blasphemy to a lot of people, but I think she's way overrated. This was the first time I'm like, oh, you can act. Because you didn't do it up until this point. Like, her in those Halloween movies, sure, they didn't give her much to work with, but I mean, it's like so generic. She doesn't do much. She's just like...
The only thing I can think of that I've seen her in is like the odd Halloween movie. Excuse me.
Or
and,
like Freaky Friday, like that shit.
Yeah. And
like Goofy, True Lies.
True Lies,
and she's okay in True Lies. Yeah, she's okay. She's not...
I don't know. I think she hangs with like Arnold and like, I think she's
Tom
a huge
Arnold.
part of that. No, Arnold Schwarzenegger.
No, I know. Tom Arnold's also in it.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. But she hangs with those people in like a big, huge blockbuster action movie.
Yeah, she's good in that movie. Again, I've just never been a huge fan of her. I think she's highly overrated. This was the first performance where I thought she actually like gave me something, interesting. Otherwise, she's just kind of always generic damsel in distress, and she kind of always plays a similar character, or she'll play a goofball version of herself. Like the Freaky Friday shit.
Yeah.
Like stuff like that. I don't know. I've just never been a huge Jamie Lee Curtis fan. This is my opinion.
But this performance, you were like, holy shit.
She's no fucking, let's put it this way. Like, she's no Linda Hamilton from like fucking Terminator 1 and 2.
Okay. Yeah.
Like, she never did that. Like, that's what I'm saying. Is like, she never got her Terminator 2 Linda Hamilton moment. She didn't get her Sigourney Weaver Aliens moment.
Yeah,
like, she's nowhere near the caliber of them, but she gets put in those categories, but she never did anything like that.
Yeah, she never was like a Ripley or
she only now, like I said, Donald Pleasance is the actual professional actor in those Halloween movies. Like, he's the one that gives you like the incredible performances. She's okay. Now people are going to argue with me because they're going to say, no, because of the new trilogy Halloween movies.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, because she has a whole new trilogy.
Fuck those movies. Fuck the new Halloween trilogy bullshit. Fuck those movies. Fuck that portrayal of that character. Who fucking cares about Laurie Strode? And I don't like that version of that character.
I have no dog in that fight.
Yes, you do. You said off camera before we started filming, you're like, you know what I want to talk about? I want to dunk on how much of a pile of shit those fucking new Halloween films. You said that before we started recording. Now you're taking it back. We're on the fucking record. Tell the people what they fucking want to hear. Don't hold back, Kevin. We don't have any corporate fucking overlords here, all right? There's no sponsors that are going to be upset. Tell the people what you said.
Yeah.
That's a joke, folks. He didn't say anything about it. But you didn't say anything for the either.
They didn't say anything good.
Right, exactly. That's just as bad. Okay, can we get off everything all once? It's great. It's good.
Yeah.
All right. I don't know if you watched this one. I'm very curious.
Okay.
Thor, Love and Thunder.
I did not watch that one. Despite wearing a Marvel shirt or sweater, I'm kind of off the Marvel train. I haven't seen the last 5 Marvel movies or whatever.
You did not miss much. Dude.
Yeah.
You dodged a bullet on this one.
I was going to say, I know I'm wearing a Marvel sweater, but I've been off the Marvel train and I haven't watched the last 5 or 6. I watched Endgame and then I got dragged to go see one of the ones after that.
Well, we watched Spider-Man.
So those came after. I watched those. I watched the Spider-Man ones. I watched Shang-Chi, I think, and
I just skipped that one.
I've just been I don't care anymore. I haven't seen
Asian superhero. Isn't it important? Do you hate that culture?
I haven't seen the Quantum one, whatever that one was. The Quantum
Ant-Man and Wasp, Quantumania.
I didn't see Black Widow. I didn't see. What are the other ones that have come out?
Who cares?
I don't know. Anyway, I didn't see it.
Who cares? Yeah. Fuck. Okay, so Thor: Love and Thunder, the 4th Thor film in the MCU. I think we're both fans of Thor Ragnarok.
It's okay. I don't know.
Oh, okay. I really like Thor Ragnarok because Thor 1 and 2 are painful to try to get through.
I did not see Thor 2.
It was so bad.
I've never seen
Thor 1 and 2. The problem with them is they were trying to make them Shakespearean serious films, and it just made them so lifeless and dull and boring. And they were so they were slogs to get through. They weren't good.
And then Taika Waititi comes in,
brings in his quirkiness, and basically realizes, Thor works better as a comedic character than he does a serious character, and Chris Hemsworth has the range to be funny.
Yeah, that was the big revelation of the third one.
Yes.
It was holy shit, this guy is funny.
Yes.
He can actually sell all these really funny scenes.
And not only that,
stuff.
him and Tom Hiddleston, whatever.
Yeah. He's hilarious too.
Yes,
yeah, he's great.
He's also funny, and the two of them have great chemistry together.
Yeah.
So they basically, Taika Waititi, is that his name?
Yep.
Taika Waititi essentially retooled and fixed the Thor character. He then ruined the Thor character with Thor, Love, and Thunder. Because basically what happened, it's kind of like the James Gunn effect, where they brought James Gunn in and he did, the one Guardians movie, and it was really good. And
it exploded.
And then they're like, wow, okay, you're on to something here. We're going to give you all this money. And then he gives us Guardians of the Galaxy 2, which is a piece of shit. Which is him.
Well, that's a controversial opinion. Some people love that movie. I don't care.
I thought it was awful. I think it's terrible. It's almost like budget run amok. It's if you give somebody just too much unrestricted power, what happens? So it's okay. So the basic premise of Thor: Love and Thunder is, I can't believe I'm saying this. Christian Bale joins the MCU.
I did know this, yeah.
Which was they got Bale. Remember, we have had a running joke between us that who can't the MCU get?
Yeah.
Who's ungettable? And then they keep getting those people.
Yeah, they'll just back up the dump truck of money
to
their house and be like, Well, like, and everyone, it's like everyone has a price.
Yeah, everyone. It's like, well, they'll never get this person, and then they get them.
The list of people that have not been in one of these goddamn like superhero movies is like so small now in Hollywood.
Oh, yeah.
And every year it gets smaller and smaller
because they keep getting like acclaimed actors who are better than these films. Like, this is a waste of Christian Bale. Like, they literally.
It's like putting like Daniel Day-Lewis into like one of
so they
movies.
literally pulled him into this film, and so we'll never get to see the film that he could have made during the time he was filming this pile of shit. So you know what I'm saying? Like,
I know what you
they
mean.
just wasted him for a film for this.
Yeah.
But I don't know how much they paid him, but obviously it was enough. But so Christian Bale plays Gore the God Butcher, and his actual villain arc is actually good. And he gives a phenomenal performance, as you would expect from Christian Bale. So, like, he's giving it his all. He's committing to the role. Gore is some sort of alien creature from some other, whatever world or whatever. And in this movie's about like the gods and how cruel they can be because
this is based off like I'm not up to date with Marvel Comics, but there was a very famous run that was written by, I can't remember the name of the writer, but he wrote this God Butcher arc of Thor, and they based this movie off a huge chunk of that.
I actually like the villain idea in this movie.
So I did hear that idea and the whole concept of this like plot line was like famous and people were excited for it. So like,
so basically it starts off Gore, he's praying to his god, and because the gods exist in the MCU, which is strange, but
despite there being like galaxies of planets and things.
I've always thought that they should have shied away from all the Greek god bullshit, like the Thor and Odin and all that crap.
Well, it's fun because
that's not Greek, but you know what I mean.
But that's sort of fun. The Norse gods and the
Norse
Greek
gods. Thank you.
That's fun because they sort of exist as like
you're right. You're right. They do have
on a planet.
They are Greek gods because they have Zeus. That's the Greeks.
Yeah.
So they have both the Norse and the Greek. Again, I don't like the god characters in the MCU. I think it makes it a little too convoluted, but essentially what you're saying is right. They're a race.
They're basically an alien race.
They're an alien race
in a way.
Right? But they have supernatural type abilities that are hard.
It's comic books.
I know. I just don't. To me, it becomes too outlandish. It's just a little too stupid. I don't like the god.
The idea that they're using like science to fly spaceships through space, but then they're also interacting with like.
But then they're interacting with like. Well, no, this is where I got annoyed. Is like, okay, you're using science to fly like Tony Stark's ship across the galaxy to fight Thanos or whatever. It's like that's cool, but then. Well, you also could just contact Zeus and borrow his magic fucking donkeys that'll will run across the cosmos. I'm like, I don't like that those two things exist in the same.
Well, I mean, that
it bothers me.
It's just comic books, like
I know. Yeah. Well, so Thor. It starts off with Thor.
Yeah.
Let me just get the premise out of the way.
Okay.
It starts off with Thor. Sorry, not Thor. Gore. Starts it with Gore. Gore gets. His daughter is dying, and he's praying to his God, being like, "Please, I've been a true believer, like from the very beginning. I've never lost faith. My faith never wavered, even when all my people died. Please show mercy to us." And the God mocks him. So he's got like this asshole douchebag God.
That's very Greek.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he mocks Gore, and then there's this weapon. That is, I think it's actually called the God Butcher. And it's this like some special powerful weapon that speaks to Gore and basically says, wield me and I will help you enact your vengeance on the gods. It's like it actually will give you the power to actually kill gods.
Kill God.
Yes. So that's what happens is Gore, I think it's actually like a blade. I don't remember. I think it's like some weird looking sword or some shit. And Gore gets that and then kills that god. And then he vows, his daughter dies. Tragically.
Yeah. Okay.
And he vows vengeance against all the gods because he sees them as all
that's a pretty good
inhumane pieces of shit that have lost touch with their humanity.
Yeah.
And they have no sympathy, and they're all, greedy fucks that just keep to themselves.
It's a pretty good villain arc to have him be like, he's got a motivation.
Oh, he's got like a legit good motivation.
Good motivation.
Yeah, they
and
set
he's
it
got
up
a backstory and
good.
stuff. So, okay. Fine.
Thor, meanwhile, is... So
basically you're saying that Gore was like, 35 years. I've waited. And then the god is like, what about you?
Yeah, basically. Yeah. He's basically Ben from Law. If you don't know what the fuck we're quoting. Kevin is quoting a very, very specific scene of Lost that I have shown him far too many times, wherein...
What about me?
Where the character, Ben... I'm not even going to get into it. It doesn't even matter. You just know that he's quoting something very, very specific. That's literally what it is. Yeah. So Ben becomes Gore, the God Butcher. Yeah. And he does in that scene because he kills Jacob. Yeah. Anyways. So Thor, meanwhile, is working with the Guardians of the Galaxy. Remember that whole thing? Because he teams up the Guardians of the Galaxy in Endgame.
Okay.
Yes.
Sure.
Do you remember this?
Okay. Yeah. I can't remember where he is at the events of
so after the events of Endgame, Thor goes away with the Guardians. He goes away with the Guardians of the Galaxy because he teams up with them. So he's with the Guardians of the Galaxy, and then that's the opening of after the whole Gore shit is it shows Thor how he works with the Guardians.
So funny hijinks with Chris Pratt and Hemsworth and all those people.
And it's dog shit. Because immediately it's just like, here is, if you give Taika Waititi way too much room, he goes unchecked. And it's like, all the shit we liked in Thor Ragnarok, the funny, like, punchy jokes and the quick wit, all that's cranked up to 20, where it's no longer funny, it becomes obnoxious. Like, they push it so fucking hard. So it's like, Thor literally is like, at one point, he's like doing the splits on like between like these two hover cars, and he's like doing all this stupid shit. He's like fighting all these, like, they basically make Thor dumb again. Like, he was not the smartest guy, but they turn him into like a dum-dum in this movie.
So it's like the Flanderization thing where it's just like way too over the top.
Way too over the top. Okay. So it's just like Thor is a bumbling idiot again. And he's just like, he's helping the Guardians, but he basically just like takes over and gets in their way, and the Guardians don't like him. And they're just like he's fucking up their dynamic, and it's stressing out Star-Lord, and they want rid of Thor like as soon as possible. Okay. But like, it's not subtle, and Thor, and like, you have to watch like this 10-minute animated CG fest of like Thor fighting all these like aliens and just doing all this stupid shit where he's like untouchable, but he does like goofy fucking dumb shit.
Comedy.
It was comedic crap is what it was. It's just so over the top.
Well, let me ask you this, because like that sounds like a tonal shift too. Like, it sounds like it's like,
that's the problem.
My daughter's dead.
Right.
And like, I just want to murder the gods that have like ruined my life. And then it's like, we're nutty.
Yes. Yeah. Literally what you're describing. That's the problem. That you just narrowed down exactly what's wrong with this film. It is a tonal fucking disaster where you want us to take your serious shit seriously, but then you're throwing at us like magic goats that can run across the sky and universe and go like, man, they look all stupid. And it's like, so it's just like nonsense, goofy comedic elements contrasted against serious, like, reflective shit. So I'm not even done with the plot. So then Thor leaves the Guardians. I think they like trick him out of like leaving, basically. He leaves. He goes back to Earth to, what's his homeworld called?
Asgard?
Yeah, I think it's Asgard 2. Because remember, he has like the refuge on Earth?
Yeah.
And Valkyrie is like watching over the Asgardians. Yeah. Asgardians? That's what they would be called?
I think so.
Yeah.
Because the planet gets blown up in the...
Yeah. So it's the Asgardians. So it's like Thor's people. He comes back to Earth to reconcile and like see his friends. Gorg is there. I think it's Gorg. Korg, the living rock guy.
Voiced by Taika Waititi, that guy. Yeah.
Oh, is that his actual voice?
I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they come back, and out of nowhere, this... attack comes from Gore's like shadow. He has like these shadow monsters. It's just CG mess. It's nothing like cool. Yeah. And out of nowhere, Mjolnir appears. And to those who have no idea what the fuck I'm talking about, Mjolnir was destroyed. Mjolnir is Thor's iconic hammer. Mjolnir was destroyed by Hela in Thor Ragnarok.
Okay, yeah, I remember that. Because he used a big staff thing, didn't he? With like, he made a new weapon or something?
So that's in Endgame.
Oh, okay, yeah.
In Endgame, he forges... in Infinity War. In Infinity War, he forges Stormbreaker. He goes to see Peter Dinklage's giant. Yeah, and with the help of Groot, he forms Stormbreaker.
So now the original Mjolnir appears. Okay.
And Thor's like, what the fuck? And Mjolnir is wielded by Natalie Portman, who is playing Mighty Thor, the female version of Thor.
Yeah.
So then the two meet up, and it's like, okay.
Because Thor goes to whoever's worthy or something, right? Like, it's like, if you're pure of heart and
don't ask me. I can't answer that question. Yeah.
I think that's how it works.
Because Captain America wielded it in Endgame.
Yeah.
So it's convoluted. It's whatever. But so then he ends up meeting Natalie Portman's character. 10 points if you can name Natalie Portman's character from the MCU. I will be thoroughly impressed if you can remember this.
Jane.
You got the first name?
I don't remember.
Jane Foster.
Okay.
I'm shocked you even got the Jane is blue. I could not remember the character's name.
I know that just I think
Thor
from
1
the
and 2
comics
suck.
Yeah.
I'm like, they're just so nothing. And she's nothing in those movies. And she notoriously railed against the MCU, being like, yeah, it was a waste of my time. So I was blown away when they got her to come back. But I think she realized, they're starting to write these movies better.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they fucking wasted her time to come back for this shit.
Ugh.
So Natalie Portman plays Mighty Thor. Jane Foster has returned. Jane Foster is dying of cancer, and she ends up using the power of Mjolnir. So Mjolnir is actually destroyed, but when Jane comes into contact with it, it ends up reforming, like the actual shards reform into a hammer.
Okay.
And she draws power from the hammer, and it turns her into Mighty Thor. Here's the thing. It's not actually curing her cancer. It's just temporarily giving her like strength and superhuman abilities.
Like staving it off kind of thing?
Yeah, exactly. Like, but it's not
delaying
actually...
the inevitable?
It's delaying the inevitable.
Okay.
Yeah, it's essentially delaying the inevitable. And it turns out the reason it does this is, I guess from like the early Thor movies, Thor enchanted Mjolnir to protect Jane.
Oh, really?
So it still had that enchantment. That's why it reforges when she comes into contact with it. And that's why it puts energy into her and gives her that ability.
I like that. That's a good explanation.
Yeah, she's great. Yeah, too bad they don't fucking do anything with her. They don't do anything with anyone in this fucking movie. It's a fucking mess. So
they don't actually give the appropriate screen time to any of this, or like her story or her character, is what you're saying?
It's just wasted. It's a cool character arc that's wasted in this. The movie's convoluted as fuck. It's way too goofy. It's way more goofy than it needs to be. It's a mess. I found it a total mess. I hated it.
Man.
It's one of the worst MCU movies I've seen in a long time. I was angry watching this. I was like, there's good parts here, but you're ruining them by shoehorning in all this weird nutty bullshit where it's like, let there be weight to these things.
I'm not saying you can't pull it off, but that's another thing where it's like someone tragically battling cancer is a pretty heavy narrative element. And then it's hard to counterbalance that with comedy.
Right, and
because you have to,
and it doesn't work.
You have to balance like what you said. The Christian Bale's character's like daughter dies or something, and then Natalie Portman has cancer, and then it's like,
and then you got Thor acting like a jackass, being like,
yeah,
and then you've got like,
I'm not saying you couldn't do it. I haven't seen the movie,
you've got,
but
like,
from the sounds of it,
yeah. So like you've got that shit right, but then you've got like Valkyrie and Chris Hemsworth's Thor, who are just like chewing the scenery, being all like goofy and jokey and stupid, and then. You've got like fucking fat, bloated Russell Crowe plays Zeus.
Russell Crowe's in this movie?
Yeah, he plays. They got Russell Crowe. They get everybody.
They get everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he plays. Man, he looks bad these days. I don't like to shit on. Well, I do, but not on camera, and definitely not when it's recorded. But He looks fucking terrible. He looks like the thing that ate Russell Crowe. What the fuck happened? Have you seen what he looks like lately?
I've definitely seen him gain a bunch of weight. Yeah.
Oh, he looks awful. It's just, man, Gladiator. He was like fit and cut. What happened? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, so he's like playing a fat, bloated, phone-in performance of Zeus. And it's like so nutty and goofy. And there's like stupid shit. Like as an example, like one of the gags is in the trailer is like Zeus is like using his powers to like, he's trying to like take something off of Thor and he accidentally takes all of his clothes off. So now you got Chris Hemsworth naked and he's got a hot bod. And Valkyrie and Jane Foster are just like, ooh, looking at his like fucking Thor hammer that's swinging between his legs. It's like, and you get to see like Chris Hemsworth's bare ass. It's like, okay, like, oh, do we need these goofy bits? What is this? It's the plot is convoluted. It's a fucking mess. It's goofy. It's stupid. It's a tonal fucking disaster. It fucking sucks. No, honestly, it fucking sucks. Fuck this movie. Honestly, I think I just saw it was like Thor 5 is in development. Who fucking cares?
That was going to be my next question.
I don't care.
Is like, these movies never end, so does this set up anything?
Yeah, oh, absolutely it does. I'm not even going to get into it. No, I'm not excited for anything. I'm not even going to tell the viewers or what the fuck this sets up. If you want to know what this sets up, you fucking look it up. It's stupid. And they do the same MCU shit. It's like, have we learned nothing from Infinity War and Endgame? Have we learned nothing from the Spider-Man movies that villains are way better when you don't introduce and kill them within the same film? Have we not learned from this? Yeah. We're still doing movies where, so Gore, no, he dies. Yep.
So he's just dead at the end.
So now we'll never see him come back. Why are we doing this? We're better than this. Stop doing the MCU formula of introduce a villain, give him some minor like motivation, and then kill him off within the same film. So we never have to. We'll never talk about that again.
Yeah.
No, that's not world building. That's not creative. That's not interesting. We're better than that. Bring those people back, even if it's just like, I don't know, they're in jail or whatever. They're in some super space prison and they interact. Like
the whole
reference them again.
Yeah,
reference them again. They'll never. I guarantee they'll. Okay, so
the whole point of like in the comic books of like it's like Spider-Man beat the Green Goblin and like he gets sent to jail, and he's like. It's like he might break out later or come back, and there's be more opportunities
or for fuck's
stories.
Sakes, maybe he gets reformed or some shit. Like,
or he's like, he's a better man now, but for how long and stuff like that.
Right.
Or
Batman does the same shit.
Batman catches a Joker and puts him in Arkham Asylum, and it's like he's there for now, but like there's always potential for new stories.
Right, and they might come back in a different version of themselves. Or
can you imagine if like every time it's like. Every time they fight someone, the
die.
villain just dies? Like, yeah.
I can. It's called the fucking MCU. It's pointless. Yeah, well, we'll never reference that guy again. Now let's never talk about Gore ever again. Like, seriously, fuck off. It's like Thanos was like the only one. Thanos and Loki seem to be like the only villains escape that fate.
Yeah, I can't think
like,
of
do you want to be top of our heads? You want to go through all the villains that show up and are like, they die and or are never referenced again?
Most of them?
Most of them, right.
Yeah.
Like, and that's what, like, as an example, like one of the things I thought was so cool in, I think it was Endgame. It was Endgame or Infinity War. Yeah, it might have been Infinity War. When Red Skull's character shows up and he's like that ethereal keeper of the Soul Stone. Yeah, Red Skull, who we just assumed, Captain America decided, now Red Skull's dead. We're never going to reference him again. Right. But then the Russo brothers were like, no, fuck that. It's cool when you bring back old villains and repurpose them. So they bring him back as like this ethereal keeper of the Soul Stone, and he's got a completely different personality. That was fucking awesome. See the difference there? See what happens when you bring back and you have love for what you've already done, and you don't just shut the door and go, now our new adventure starts. It's like, stop opening and shutting doors in between Marvel films. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, for fuck's sakes, let the hallway breathe and just like, hang pictures on the hallway of each adventure and go back and reference those.
Yeah. So you would recommend this film?
Heavily so. If you're a big MCU fan, like I clearly am, you this is a must watch. No, fuck this fucking movie. And it's like people are gonna argue with me because they're like, well, the ending sets up, they'll be referencing gore forever. Yeah, technically. So the climax of the film is, it turns out Gore's motivation is actually there's a secret way to resurrect someone.
Of course.
So he sacrifices himself to resurrect his daughter.
Yeah.
And he resurrects his daughter, who's called Love. Thor, Love and Thunder. Okay. Love and the God of Thunder. And that's actually how it ends. It's like, Love and Thunder will return. Because it ends with like...
Okay.
So Thor ends up...
So she's going to be a character then.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting.
He takes Love under... he basically adopts Love as like his own child and starts raising her.
That's something. That's intriguing.
Yeah,
I guess.
It's something, I guess. That's not saying much. Fuck this fucking movie. I'm so burnt on these stupid goddamn like three. Here's the problem with the MCU. Like I don't want this whole thing to be like a shit on the MCU podcast. But we need to make a point here. They're cranking them out too fast, and they all feel the same.
Yeah.
Like,
well, I mean, they've now announced that they're only going to do like one a year.
Right. Why? Because they're not kids are getting diminishing returns.
Yeah.
Because finally
the box office has dropped off a cliff.
Because finally people have woken up and been like, oh yeah, these aren't that good. Like, let's not rush to go see Ant-Man 5 and Thor 10. Yeah. Who fucking cares? They're just doing the same thing over and over and over again. Give us some fresh ideas, some fresh takes on these characters. Fuck off with your MCU established formula bullshit where you're planning out the next 10 fucking chapters in this long arching saga where every chapter feels identical, has the same beats, the same basic prototypes, the same archetypes, the same protagonists, the same antagonists, same villains, same fucking setup, same kill the villain at the end, same goddamn formula, same fucking everything. And bring in some fresh blood to reinvigorate the MCU.
You good? You okay?
I have opinions. My voice needs to be heard, damn it. No, I'm just exactly what you talked to. Like, you were burnt on these movies ages ago, and I hung in way longer than you.
Yeah.
Like, I never thought the MCU movies were excellent. They weren't. But there was a few that were really good, and that's what made them great.
They were like consistent, like 7 out of 10.
Consistent. Kind of I wouldn't even say 7. I would say they were consistently 6 and 7 out of 10s. They were never insultingly bad, but they were never incredible, with a few exceptions. There were a few. We got Infinity War and we got Endgame, and I think the Spider-Man movies get closer to that, especially Far From Home. I think is like, No Way Home. I think is fucking incredible. So they got touches of greatness, but as a whole, they were consistently okay. My problem is I'm not okay with it's just okay anymore. Yeah. I'm tired of the phoning it in. You know what I mean? I'm tired of we're going to consistently delivering you mediocrity since 2008. Can't we do better? Like, can we not do better than this?
Well, hopefully they can, because it seems like they have to completely change course and go down to like maybe a movie a year.
Well, I think they're realizing we need to write better films. We need to change this up. Stop trying to because like every film now in the MCU, it's like it's not even interested in its own plot of that particular movie. All it's interested in is setting up things for the next 3. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
Like Love and Thunder is so its priority is get Thor out of the Guardians of the Galaxy and give him love, like give him that side character
and set him up for the next 5 other movies that are going to tie into the other 5 movies.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. It's like, so they're not even interested in their own like plots. That's why I really liked the Netflix the Netflix Marvel shows. The thing I liked about them is they were so isolated from the MCU. They would drop little things that reminded you, oh, hey, it is part of that universe. But it did its own thing, and it wasn't concerned. Its primary objective was not to set up a thing that would later pay off in Thor 5 or Ant-Man 3. Like,
it's allowed to exist on its own, and then it is part of a bigger picture, but ultimately you can just like watch that and be content, I guess.
Yeah, that's why like some of the best shit that the Marvel has put out is those one-off like stories, like that Werewolf by Night. Did you ever watch that?
I didn't watch that, but I heard it was good.
It was very good.
It's like black and white.
Yeah, it was very good. It was a good like short. It was like a short film, and it was like a short one-off special. And it was like a horror thing. It was black and white. It was very well done. It's very like 1930s Universal Monster feel. And it's a one-off. And it's great. Because it doesn't, like Nick Fury doesn't show up at the end. It's like, we need to talk about, Ultron's been rebuilt or something.
I would actually watch it if it's just like a short little like horror thing.
Right.
And it's like, if you can just appreciate that and I don't need to see 18 other movies.
Yeah.
I'd give it a shot.
Like I'll tell you what film is not going to show up on this program, and that's The Marvels. I'm not going to see it because I already...
That's the newest one.
Yeah, the newest one. And I already read up on it, and it's like, it connects Kamala Khan from Miss Marvel, the TV show. I think it's Maria Rambeau from WandaVision, and Brie Larson's Captain Marvel, who's the lamest character in the entirety of the MCU, and I do not like Brie Larson as an actress. And it connects those three, and they go on some wacky adventure, and then the result of that is then it sets up both the X-Men. Yes, it sets up the X-Men.
Spoilers, I guess. Okay.
It sets up the X-Men.
Right.
Well, it's even stupider than you think. Don't get your hopes up, folks. It's not what you want. So it sets up the X-Men, and it sets up the Young Avengers. So it's like that's their whole thing. It's like, so now we got to bring all the Young Avengers characters.
But everything you just described is like stuff I haven't seen. So if I'm the average person going to buy a movie ticket,
there's no payoff.
Like, I haven't seen like 3 or 4 of those.
You didn't watch Miss Marvel. You didn't watch.
Yeah, and that's not my fault. It's like if you're going to the movies for a night out. Like,
so why
the
are you
average
gonna
family to be like,
and why are you going to want to watch these characters? You don't even know who the fuck they are. If you haven't watched, if you don't have Disney, you're not subscribed to Disney Plus. You're not one of us. You don't have the brain fucking worm that we all have.
It's becoming like insular, where it's like you have to have kept up with all this stuff.
Yeah, right. You got to be part of the club, dude. Yeah. You want something to talk about at the water cooler tomorrow?
No.
Not if we're talking about this. Again, though, it's like, what is a better way? I know I'm ranting on this for a while, but this is something that I really want to talk about. What is a better way of doing this? You know what I mean? Like
one movie a year. That's it. Make an event.
Cut it down. Make it an event. Cut it down. Cut it the fuck down.
And
cut your TV production down.
Don't have a million shows that you have to watch to like know the backstory.
Well, here's my thing. Stop putting setups in these movies and TV shows. Reference other things in the world, but you don't need the scene where the guy walks in and is like, I need to talk to you about the Avengers Initiative. We don't need that. We didn't even need those in those movies. Like by the time Avengers came out, even if you hadn't watched Thor or Captain America or whatever, if they had shown up, you would have had some knowledge of them. And Avengers did a good job of making it so that you didn't feel like you really missed anything not seeing those characters, especially because Mark Ruffalo wasn't even that Hulk.
That's true.
It was the Edward Norton Hulk, and that tonally is completely different than his take on the character anyways. So they kind of reinvented that character. But what I'm saying is like what they had in those individual movies, that setup where Nick Fury comes at the end, they didn't need that. They could have just done the Avengers, and then maybe those introductions were at the beginning of the Avengers. Maybe those stupid little after credit scenes. Maybe the film opens with Nick Fury just propositioning each one of them.
That might
look at that.
Too.
I just threw an idea out there, right? It's like, stop putting your little setups in your movies. Do like subtle little things that talk about the expanded universe. You can reference things. You can talk about other characters, but stop like bonking us on the head with like shit that's like, you better pay attention to this. This is coming back.
I think that worked. Like that was revolutionary in terms of like going to see a movie and then you're like, okay, it's ending, but then there's a secret teaser clip at the end where it's like Samuel Jackson shows up. Right. And it's like, ooh, this is connected to a larger thing. But after 15 years of that,
enough.
It's like a
enough
lot.
with the fucking after credits setup.
It
crap.
loses its magic. Yeah, like 15 years of like trying to like set little things up. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
It's crap. All right, that's the end of my rant. Why don't you talk about one here? Because I need to recoup my voice after that.
I'll segue us from a Taika Waititi movie to a Taika Waititi show.
Oh, we're going to talk about What We Do in the Shadows?
Yes. We're going to talk about What We Do in the Shadows. I mean, I guess he directed the original film, What We Do in the Shadows.
Yeah, he did. I
think he's just a co-producer on the show.
He's involved with the show, but he doesn't. Yeah, he doesn't even. I think he does return as his character in the show, though.
The problem is, I've now watched the whole show.
Yeah,
we'll talk about that. I've not seen the movie. Did you watch the movie?
Yes, I've seen the movie, but not the show.
Okay. Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, so we're like flipped then.
Yeah. So because to me, I wasn't interested in the show. I tried starting it, and I didn't love the movie. I thought the movie was okay. So What We Do in the Shadows. Basic premise is it's a quirky comedy, and it follows a group of eccentric, different vampires. They're different takes on the vampire like archetype. So one of them is more like the Bram Stoker's type of Dracula.
Yep.
One of them is more like a Nosferatu type, like silent film era. One of them is like, I guess, I don't know, like the Anna Rice, like Interview with the Vampire style. I think that's what Taika Waititi's that one. I think he's more the effeminate one.
He's not. I don't believe he's a vampire in the show. I think he might do a cameo, but he's not one of the main cast.
He's one of the it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
They changed the formula for the show, but they're still playing the same group.
Yes.
So they're all in a house, and it's modern times, and it's a quirky comedy where it's like, what if all these different eccentric vampires existed in modern times? And
let me ask you this, because I've watched the whole show, and like spoiler, like I love the show. I think it's great. Is the movie a mockumentary?
Yes.
Okay, because that's what. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's I thank you for saying that. I forgot that. So it's in the style of a mockumentary where they talk to the camera.
Yeah.
And it's a mockumentary about the life of vampires in the modern age, and the vampires are so completely out of touch. It's hilarious because like they basically live this sheltered life inside this like crappy old big house, and these in the movie I think it's 4 vampires that are living together. I think in the show it's 3.
No, it's a couple. 3. I think it's 4.
Okay. Yeah. Well, does Colin count?
Colin, is he a character in the movie?
No, they made him up for the show.
Okay, yeah, he's technically
the energy vampire.
Yes, the energy vampire. Yeah.
So it's a mockumentary style, and it follows these vampires, and it's just a quirky comedy. Excuse me. I enjoyed the original movie. I thought it was fun. I thought it was just a fun, quirky comedy. I watched the whole thing. I didn't think it was amazing, but I had a good time watching it. It was just a fun little stupid movie. I think it was what you would call a hidden gem, which a lot of people. The original was definitely a hidden gem. When they announced the TV show, I didn't like the movie enough to think like to get excited about like, it
didn't intrigue you enough to be like, a show version kind
right, because I was like, no, I think the movie kind of did its thing, and it works better as a one-off. I mean, obviously you're about to argue the counterpoint to that, but I didn't think there was enough there for me to get excited about expanding anything. I was kind of just like, I was happy with what it was. I was content,
Yeah.
So now let's hear the counterpoint.
Okay, counterpoint. I did not. I vaguely heard of the movie, but I never watched it. I just never got around to watching it. And then this fall, the show went up on either Disney Plus or one of the streamers.
Yeah, it's on Disney Plus.
And my wife and I started watching it. And so basically the show is similar to what you described, but in essence, it's The Office, but with vampires.
Yeah,
like it's a mockumentary of a camera crew. Excuse me. Following around the vampires in a dilapidated house in New York City.
Yep.
But it's great. Like, if you like Parks and Rec, if you like The Office, like that style of like
dry humor,
faux dry mockumentary thing, the idea of taking that formula and tweaking it with like a horror setting and all the characters like horror monsters and vampires and things, it's great. The actual tone of the humor and comedy is excellent. So I don't know if they did this in the film, but in the show, you're following the titular vampires. It's Nadja and Laszlo are this like couple, and they've been vampires for like 500 years. And then their friend is Nandor, and he's like an ancient like Babylonian vampire.
So he's like the Bram Stoker's Dracula.
He's like very out of touch. They're all out of touch.
The TV show has equivalent characters to the ones in the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only one that's original is the Colin character.
Yeah.
Even the Guillermo, like the servant.
They do the servant
They
thing?
have that in the movie as well.
Because in the show, you're also following Guillermo, he wants to become a vampire.
Yeah.
And he's like a vampire servant, but he's been their servant for like 10 years.
Yeah.
And he's like, any day now, like any day they're going to make me a vampire.
I'm pretty certain that character is in the movies as well. I think.
He's great. They like all the actors are incredible in the show. They all like sell it.
They all
they're
nail
chewing
their
up
roles.
the scene. Like they have great chemistry. It's really funny watching how like awkward Guillermo is with like Nandor, because he's like, oh yes, sure, like one day, like I'll make you a vampire.
Yeah,
but
like,
they do genuinely have a connection, but they're all like stringing along the servant. And then there's lots of the sort of like Office style, they're like turn to camera stuff. They also bring in, like, they expand this world, of course.
Yeah, because they bring in the Vampire Council.
So then there's a Vampire Council. Yeah. There's, like, energy vampires.
Yeah.
They establish other types of vampire cults. There's emotional vampires. There's all different things. Like, there's so much to explore in, like, a horror fantasy setting, but then having this mockumentary style. So they interact with werewolves.
Yeah, it's in the movie.
That's in the movie too?
Yeah, so they have a rivalry with the werewolves.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's actually the climax of the original movie, is they have like a fight with this like this werewolf crew. And it's like, oh, werewolves, everybody act normal. Act normal. Yeah.
It's really funny that they can like hypnotize people. So they'll do ridiculous shit, but you can get out of it and just like move on to the next episode or the next narrative, because oftentimes they'll like leave the like some horrible situation where they'll have like murdered a bunch of people, and then they'll just be like, you remember nothing, you will wake up tomorrow and none of this happened. It's like,
but it's like,
it works.
Heinous.
Yeah, it works. Yeah, it's great. I'd say give it a chance. It's very funny.
I did. No, I have watched.
Oh, you have?
Yeah,
watched
I didn't
the
like
show?
it. It didn't hook me. Yeah, it didn't hook me. I tried it. I've watched because I saw it on Disney Plus. I saw like the first 2 episodes. I was like, eh.
I especially like the Colin Robinson energy vampire.
He I thought was the funniest addition to that idea. Is the idea of, so Colin is the stereotypical boring office worker, but he actually is an energy vampire, which is like as boring as it sounds of a vampire. But
he feeds off of...
He thrives in office settings because that's so soul-sucking, and it's already where people just like hate their lives being in these jobs. Yeah. So he basically becomes like a god.
Emotionally draining people. So like anything that just like taxes you and makes you like roll your eyes or be like, oh God. Like,
yeah. So he becomes like a god in this environment. Yeah. And I know that at one point he gets like an insane power buff because...
Yeah. Well, he gets a promotion at this office job. So he becomes like supervisor or manager, and then he becomes too powerful.
Yeah.
Because he can just like lord over everyone.
Yeah.
That's a really funny episode. Also, he eventually meets and has like a sort of romance with an emotional vampire. This is woman, because he tries to like drain her in the office setting, but she's like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm just upset today because my cat died. And it doesn't work. He's like, oh shit, like he can't drain her because she's feeding off of everyone's like sadness.
Yeah.
So she goes around the office like making everyone depressed, basically.
That's funny.
So it's really funny, and they sort of have like a romance throughout the series. That I thought that was a great idea. They bring back what's his name, the master vampire, like the one of the Nosferatu style, like old 20s vampires, is played by the guy who he's a famous like body character actor. He's in like a million Del Toro movies.
Doug Jones?
Doug Jones. Okay. Yes. So Doug Jones shows up as like the master Nosferatu vampire.
Okay.
He's hilarious too. He's like a great like comedy actor.
So they changed that character. So in the original movie, the Nosferatu character is literally just like a horrifying like Nosferatu.
Oh yeah.
And he like doesn't talk. Like he doesn't really say anything to any of them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he's just like, it's like even the other vampires are kind of like put off by him because he's just like like eats just like chickens whole and shit like that. Yeah, it's pretty brutal.
It's really funny. They have him locked up in the attic or something, and then he eventually awakens after like hundreds of years, and he's like, he looks like a horrifying Nosferatu, like demon vampire, but he's like, I want to go out on the town. It's been a while, guys. Like, can't we go get some drinks? And they're all like, ugh.
Oh, so they completely redid that character.
Yeah. And eventually he gets a makeover where he does start to look like just Doug Jones in like a big wig. So they play around with that stuff. The Colin Robinson, I guess I can spoil some things because I don't know. Are you going to watch it?
I'm not watching anymore, but I don't know if you want to spoil it for the viewer.
Yeah, I guess I don't want to really spoil anything. I'd say just watch it because it goes interesting places. I finished season 5 and it's been renewed for season 6, which is good. The other thing I wanted to ask you in the movie, so this isn't spoiling anything, but a big part of the conflict in the show is that Guillermo is a servant to the vampires, but it's revealed that he has ancient lineage tracing back to the Van Helsings.
Oh no, I don't think anything. I don't think there was any subplot of that in the movie.
So the irony is that he's descended from a line of like Van Helsing vampire hunters. So those powers start manifesting. So he's like weirdly like proficient with stakes and like weapons, like a Simon Belmont like sort of like Castlevania character. He's like very good at killing vampires, but he's conflicted because he's like wants to become a vampire.
Right.
That's a really fun like thing in the show too. So I say recommend it. Go check it out. It's like a really fun show. Yeah. I really enjoyed it.
It's a mockumentary show about vampires. If that sounds like it's up your alley, then
watch. I haven't really cared for Waititi's films. And I haven't watched the original film. The show that's like shot off from this, fantastic, really good.
You'll like the movie.
You think I will?
Oh yeah, for sure you will. Yeah, for sure you will. Yeah,
I plan on watching it.
It's the exact same tone. It's the same tone. Yeah, it's good. It's good.
Cool.
Yeah, definitely watch the movie. So we're recommending the movie and we're recommending the TV show. Yeah. I would say like the TV show didn't hook me, but it's not bad. Like I didn't think it was bad. It didn't hook me.
Yeah.
Okay, back to me. A movie that I don't think you watched, which is criminal, because I told you to fucking watch this.
All right.
Prey.
No, I did not watch
Prey. You fucking fuck. I knew you didn't watch this. I fucking recommended it 10 times. Okay, all right. So, Prey, the newest entry in the Predator franchise coming to us from Disney, because Disney now owns Fox. So this is the first Disney production.
Okay.
Although it was still under the 20th Century whatever banner.
Wasn't it Hulu?
I believe it premiered on Hulu.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think it went to theaters. I could be wrong.
No, I think you're right. I think it was
a streaming
premiere. Only.
Yeah. Prey is fucking awesome. Prey is the best Predator film since Predator 2.
Bold words here.
Bold words. But I mean, that's not a high bar.
No, that's not a high bar.
Predators is a piece of shit. The Predator was beyond believable how bad it was. And the AVP movies also suck. Like
I have.
This is not. I'm not really shocking the world saying this. The Alien and Predator franchises have both been basically dead. Similar to Terminator as well. They've been
dead horses that people have been
since like the
beating.
Third entry.
Yeah.
You know, they've all been fucking just dead. So basic premise of Prey, it follows for anyone that's not familiar with the concept of predators. Predators are these ancient, honorable warrior aliens. It's a warrior alien race, and they come to other planets to hunt for sport. So they're looking for trophies. They're looking to hunt and kill us.
They're looking for like a challenge.
They want a challenge. Yeah, they want a challenge. So the film takes place in the United States during the Comanche era.
Yep.
So this is like early settler days, and it follows a group of Comanches.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. And I did know this. Yeah.
So Comanches being the Native Americans, one of like the most well-known Native American groups, who were very known for their like Comanche warriors. That's a very well-known archetype of the strong, fierce, like proud warrior. And it follows this one tribe, the right word?
I think so.
Yeah, this one tribe of Comanches, and a predator comes down to hunt. lands in the area.
Okay.
The predator starts out, I think it hunts some like animals in the area at first. I think it like kills like a mountain lion or something.
Yeah.
And then it sets its sights on the Comanches and begins a conflict with the Comanches. Our main character is a female lead. For, I believe, one of the first times in the franchise, we get a female lead.
Yeah, that would definitely be a first, I think.
And she is excellent. I forget the character's name. I can look it up after, but the lead female, everyone is great in this film, but she is really good. You really want to root for her. So she is someone who, within her tribe, males are considered the warriors, females are considered the homemakers, right?
Yeah.
It's the whole hunter-gatherer.
There's also like to become like a brave, to become like a warrior. There's like a rite of passage.
You have to earn it. Yeah, you have to earn it. Yeah, so her brother is actually like, I believe, the war chief. So her brother is like who everyone turns to as like, he is our protector. You are not meant to be a warrior. She is trying to earn the respect of her clan, similar to a predator.
Ooh, okay.
Similar to a predator,
okay.
she's trying to earn her stripes within the tribe.
Is the predator also? Is there multiple predators?
Only one predator in the film. Only one. We go back to when the formula worked. Single predator. Yep. There's not 10 million predators showing up all doing different gimmicky.
There's not an army of predators.
No, and they don't have like gimmicky, like this one can do this. The predator in this film has an excellent design. It's a really cool looking predator. They did a good job with how it looks. It's a very basic predator.
Cool.
Don't expect a predator with like similar to what Predator 2 did, where Predator 2 introduced like a predator that had all these gadgets and shit.
There were lots of gadgets and special weapons and things in that one.
Which totally works in that one because they were trying to build on the first one. But in this one, we're going way back into, I don't know what time period that would be, like 1800s, I suppose, would be around
probably.
That. Yeah, so like 1800s era. This is a much more simple predator. It's not that it has nothing. I mean, they're still leagues ahead of what technology we had at the time. It still has the shoulder cannon. It still has like the sighted like laser mask.
So the lasers.
Yeah. Okay. But other than that, I think it has like it has the claws, like the retractable metal claws, like the staple. No, I don't believe it even has. I don't think it has the spear or the net even. That's all like Predator 2 shit. I don't believe it had any of that shit.
For some reason I remember it having a spear in one, but maybe it's just, I don't know. It's been a while since I watched those.
No, that's Predator 2, buddy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Predator 2 introduces
Is that like the spinning blade?
Spinning disc.
Disc thing?
Yeah, spinning disc, yeah. The first Predator has the shoulder cannon and the knife, and I believe that's it.
Okay.
It's the second one where they introduced the spear that like retracts. They introduced the disc. And
so that's all from Predator 2.
Yeah, Predator 2 is a masterpiece. Yeah,
I wouldn't say masterpiece.
It's Predator 2 does not get the love that it deserves.
But if you want to watch
if
you want to watch a video on Predator 2
on this very channel, in fact, I have a video talking about how good Predator 2 is.
Yeah.
So, a predator is going after. Oh, I think it also has a sword. Actually, now that I think about it, again, it's very basic. It's a very
obviously
basic predator.
It's continuing like the formula that in the original Predator film of it probably hunts down her family members or her people, and then it's probably a showdown between her and the predator.
Between her and the predator, yeah.
I'm just gonna assume
she's trying to earn her stripes as a warrior, as a respected warrior in her clan. The predator is trying to do the exact same thing in its own way. The Comanches end up going into its hunting grounds. To add to the mix is a group of French settlers. And they get tied up into it. And they end up actually, they introduce a third party, which I thought was really cool.
That's interesting.
And the third party, so one thing that's cool about the predators is the predators don't just like hunt random people. Like they hunt worthy warriors, right? So the predator doesn't just go into the Comanche tribe and start like massacring women and children. They don't do that.
They would probably see that if you have like a weapon.
They go after the warriors.
Or something.
Yeah, they go after the warriors. Yeah.
They would intuit that you're a warrior or
yeah,
somehow.
That's exactly it. They go after those that they deem worthy prey.
Yeah.
Right? The title of the movie.
Prey. Okay.
The French settlers are a cool like third party element because they're basically also trying to go after the predator.
Because they both like are they aware that this is like an alien, or do they think it's like a supernatural?
They just think it's
thing? Because they would have no in the 1800s. If an alien being showed up, they would be like, "What the fuck is this?"
Right. So the Comanches think that it's like some sort of supernatural demon, and the French people think it's some like beastly creature, basically.
Okay.
So both of them think it's like the Comanches think it's something otherworldly, but they don't quite know what. And then the Frenchmen think it's more like some sort of like, I don't know.
Yeah. Is it like
some
skinning
animal
people like in the first movie and like leaving their bodies on display?
I don't remember if it does any of that. I've only watched it once. I'm definitely going to rewatch it to see if it's worth putting in the collection.
Yeah.
I don't remember it doing anything like that per se. But
they quickly discover that there's this thing in the woods that's like killing off people and they need to go confront it.
Yep.
Okay.
So it's got great acting, great action, really good. The Predator design is excellent in this. Really good effects. There's a lot of practical in this.
Ooh,
a guy running around in a suit. The CG that's in it is not over the top. It's not obnoxious. It's shot really well. The thing that works really well for it is it's a simple, fun idea. Like it takes Predator back to its basic Predator 1 formula.
It's like stripped down to what works.
They strip it down to what works, and they do it well, and they inject different things into it that it feels different. You know, it's like the old saying, it's like, give us a sequel that's different but the same.
Yes. Yeah.
So the formula is the same, but it's got a completely different feel to it because the Comanches and the French settler guys, like, and the environment and the setting they're in, it feels very different than the original Predator.
Cool.
So best Predator sequel since 2. It's excellent. Yeah,
I
highly
definitely
recommend it.
I definitely will check it out. I just haven't got around to it. One thing I did hear that was interesting that I like is that they filmed it in like the Comanche language.
Yeah. So
did you watch that version?
No, because at the time I don't think that it was out. I think on the rewatch I'll watch.
I think that would be really cool to watch it where it's like subtitled
version. Yeah,
in their language.
There's a version of it it's a subtitled version of the Comanche version of the film.
I'll definitely check that out because that's like fascinating.
Because I think it's been a while since I watched it, but I think they do the thing where it's like they start talking in their native tongue, but then you just start hearing them in English, and the idea is like we're hearing it as if they're, we understand what they're saying. Like, I think they do that kind of shit
because it's sort of like a money consideration for the studio to be like, well, we want it to be in English so that it'll have a broader appeal. Yeah. But I like that they actually filmed it in their language, like to that time period and to that culture. Is bold. It's cool.
It's very good. Yeah. It's very good. Okay, we go from one giant killer monster to another giant killer monster.
All right.
I watched the 1980 film Alligator.
Oh, all right. It's just called Alligator?
Just called Alligator, buddy. This is the beginning. This is right at the beginning when everybody was trying to stake their claim on
Jaws.
X. Yeah, right. It's
it's a shark.
Shark. Piranha, python. Everybody was just staking their claim on no.
What's a scary animal? Got to have a scary animal movie.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Razorback, which is like the killer Razorback movie. Yeah. That's like the Australian one. So Alligator, it is.
Oh, wait, okay. I'm looking at the poster here. It lives 50 feet beneath the city. It's 36 feet long. It weighs 2,000 pounds. And it's about to break out.
That's an incredible poster there.
Okay.
So basic premise of Alligator, it is a creature feature. If you're familiar with the people have to deal with a giant blank insert animal, you've seen this film. So if you've seen any type of film like this, like Anaconda or Python or any of the Jaws ripoff movies, Jaws obviously is, the granddaddy of this genre in a sense, but it is a creature feature where we have a giant alligator running amok in New York City, and the police are trying to capture and detain it.
Okay.
So
is this like the urban legend of like if you flush an alligator down the toilet?
So literally the opening of this film. So the opening of this movie is this girl gets an alligator at like a fair, and her father's like, get rid of that thing. And
get that out of here.
Flushes it down the toilet. It goes into the New York sewer system, and coincidentally, there is a shady, mysterious research company, and they're experimenting with growth hormones on animals. Ooh. And it's killing the animals. It's some sort of weird growth project they're trying to do, and they're experimenting on animals illegally. And to cover it up, they're dumping the bodies in the sewers, which the alligator has been feeding on for like 15 years. So now it has mutated into this giant alligator that, according to this, is 50 feet long. That's probably about
36
right.
feet long.
Oh.
It's 50 feet below the
30,
city.
Yeah, so 36 feet long. It's huge in the movie.
Yeah.
And so that's the setup for how the alligator gets huge.
Did that start that legend of like
this movie?
Don't flush a snake or an alligator. Like
no,
there's
think
alligators living in the sewers of New York City. No, that's like a real.
No, I think that was an
myth.
Urban legend before this movie. I don't think this movie created that urban legend, but that would be hilarious if it did, because this is not a great movie. Okay, so the main actor in this is Robert Forster.
Okay.
Like acclaimed actor, Robert Forster. It's like young Robert Forster. He doesn't necessarily bring anything to this role. So if you're watching this being like, oh, I love Robert Forster, he's such a badass. It's like, yeah, he's just kind of doing a generic bland performance.
He's like, check, please.
Don't
I'm
expect
in an alligator movie.
Yeah, don't expect like Roy Schreider level of like Jaws performance. Like don't expect that, or who's the guy that played Quint?
Oh,
that like acclaimed actor.
Yeah, I can't think
of it. Or Richard Dreyfuss. Like, don't expect like incredible performances in this film. He's the only
30 people enter the sewer, 10 people leave the sewer.
Yeah,
there's nothing like
there's no bad ad. No, so a lot of people like this movie. I can see why you would watch this movie. It's got an awesome, incredible, practical animatronic giant alligator.
I was going to ask, do they use a real alligator at times? Or
Okay, so there's a few shots that's clearly miniatures, and they just used like a baby alligator.
Okay.
And those shots look like ass. But generally, most of the movie is a practical animatronic giant alligator.
Jaws, like a giant animatronic.
Yeah, it's a giant animatronic. Okay. So that's why you would want to watch this movie, is if you like those giant animatronic animals like I do, and that's why I watched this.
Yeah.
It's got some fun kills.
Is it anyone famous that you know? Like, is it Savini or like the effects team that did Jaws or something like that?
I couldn't tell you.
Okay.
But the effects of the alligator are, when it's the actual animatronic, look great. They did a really good job creating this animatronic. It's huge. They use it a good amount. The kills are fun. The problem is it doesn't really do anything more than that. So like you could literally just watch a kill count video of this on YouTube and that would have been fine. Like you don't need the rigmarole of like the basic, following the human characters. The human characters kind of suck. They're kind of generic. They're kind of nothing. No one really stands out, even Robert Forster.
Yeah.
There's no interesting, like, part of what makes Jaws brilliant is like Jaws is hardly in that film. It's basically just a character study.
Yes.
It's just a drama of like, how would humans react to this force of nature?
There's an extra level of polish and of like you could watch it and care about the characters and get invested.
And that's why it's brilliant.
Yes.
Yeah. This doesn't have that, and that's what that right there we just said. That's what 99.9% of creature features are missing, is that extra element of drama and character development and dialogue. Is always missing from these movies.
It's not like you couldn't have it, because in Jaws, part of the conflict is like the mayor wants to get a renovation for the waterfront or something. Yeah. And he's been warned that the beaches should be closed, but he's like, keep them open because we need the tourists.
We need the tourist revenue.
Yeah. And you could do the same thing with this, because you told me that it's like this company is dumping chemicals in the sewers. So it could be like,
I think there is some subplot where they're trying to cover it up. Like
it could be an environmental, political issue where it's like,
I think some of it's there. It's just not great. That's the problem. It's like, I do think they have some of that shit, but it's not great. So it's like, just watch this if you just want a schlocky, stupid, giant monster movie, like a giant creature feature. Watch this. It's fun.
Was it worth it for some of the fun, creative, like special effect kills?
It was worth one watch. It's like a 6 out of 10 movie. It's worth a single watch. You're gonna watch it and have a good laugh. It's got some stupid shit in it. Yeah, and that's it. But it does not rise above. Like the 80s, to me, I think it's the greatest film decade of all time.
It's your favorite. Yeah.
My favorite. But when you talk horror, it's like undeniably the best among horror aficionados. That 80s level of quality and like practicality in those films, it's such a high bar. So it's like it doesn't come close to something, like Evil Dead 2 or it doesn't go anywhere near that level of spectacle with its practical effects, but it's still a good time.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this. What about Alligator 2 or Alligator 3 or Alligator 4?
So there is an
franchise?
There's an Alligator 2 I'll bring up right here. Alligator It erupted from the bowels of the city in a lethal frenzy. Alligator 2, The Mutation.
The Mutation.
Yeah, which is ironic because it was already mutated in the first movie.
Well, in this poster, it's massive. Like, it's like bigger than...
Oh, I'm sure that's just some artist nonsense.
It's like the size of an elephant on the poster.
Oh, it's bigger than that. Yeah. That's like the size of that's the size of like 2 school buses. Look at the scale. The humans in that poster are like the size of one of his eyeballs. It's complete nonsense. That thing could like fight Mothra. It's huge.
That makes me want to watch it.
Yeah. I've never seen the second one. I heard, so what I was told by other like horror people is the second one is like way worse than the first one. I'm like, the first one's already not great.
Oh, okay.
So I'm like, I probably just look up a kill count video for it, and that's like it.
Yeah, special effects and stuff.
Yeah. Just see those scenes. So there you go. Alligator, 1980. Watch it if you want. If you want if you're in the mood for a good creature feature that's well done and has some good practical effects, watch it. But don't expect anything amazing out of it. Okay, next movie. I know you've watched. We haven't talked about it.
Okay. All right.
Barbarian.
Yes.
Let's talk about Barbarian. This is 2022 Barbarian. Take it away. Basic premise, Kevin.
I've seen this movie. I love this movie. I think this is one of the best movies of the year that it came out. It came out last year.
Yeah, right? I remember you gushing about it, and I kind of stopped you talking about it because I hadn't seen it yet.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I remember trying to call you one day and being like, dude.
And I'd said, it's on my list.
I saw this movie.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. So thanks for handing it over to me because, I was like...
gushing.
I went and saw it at the indie screening in my city.
Yeah.
And... it was blown away. Like, I went with a group of friends, and it's like the perfect like horror like movie experience to be like, I don't know anything about it. So in a way, I want to talk about it. I want to gush about it. But to be clear, if you're at all interested in a movie like this,
skip.
Don't watch anything. Don't watch a trailer.
No, but skip this right now.
Oh, yes.
Skip to the next. So all of my time codes are at the bottom in the description. I always do that in these videos, and people don't seem to realize this. Literally, just go to the description. There's the time codes. Skip Barbarian. Just go to the next one if you don't want anything spoiled, because we're about to spoil a ton of shit.
Long story short, like, I love this movie. I highly recommend go seeing it. So go check it out if you haven't.
Right.
So, yeah.
Now, take it away. What's the basic premise?
Okay. So it's a... Airbnb horror film, basically.
Yes.
So a young professional woman has a job interview in Detroit, I think.
It is Detroit.
Michigan.
Yeah, it's specifically the bad abandoned neighborhoods of Detroit.
So she's coming from out of town for this really important job interview, and she's like, "Okay, I just need to stay a night or two to get into the city for this interview." So she books an Airbnb or like a rental house. But unbeknownst to her, it's in the terrible like ghetto area way outside the city where all the houses are decrepit. No one lives there.
And that's a brilliant... the way they did that was brilliant because when she arrives at the house, it's at night.
So she can't see
the
neighborhood.
That only the one house is like normal, and all the other houses in the neighborhood are like boarded up, dilapidated.
Yeah,
and like she can't see that like she's in a horror movie, basically.
Because
the next day when she goes to leave for the interview, she realizes just how bad the neighborhood is.
That's like the only house in the entire area that's like looks normal. Everything else is decrepit and run down, and there's no one around. Like, it's just haunting. But so she shows up at night. She gets there at night from a long drive, and she tries to unlock, because with Airbnbs, you have the key in a lockbox. So she gets texted the code from the owner, and she opens the lockbox, and the key's gone.
Right.
She's like, oh, fuck. So she goes back in the car. She tries to contact the Airbnb host and be like, sorry, like, you don't have the key here. How do I get access? And she can't get a hold of the company or the owners. And then a light turns on in the house. And she's like, oh, what the hell? Like, someone's already here staying at this house. It's double booked.
Right.
And so she goes up and knocks on the door, and a man answers the door.
Played by
Skarsgård.
Bill Skarsgård. Bill Skarsgård. Pennywise himself.
Yeah.
Who
is a haunting
who is a
man.
in a
just physically,
yeah, right.
Like
in a use of brilliant casting,
yeah.
Bill Skarsgård, like, forget that he was Pennywise, but forget that.
His demeanor and his
Skarsgård has a funny look to him.
Yeah.
And he looks slightly off. Like he it's very easy to make Skarsgård creepy. So he's already a creepy kind of looking guy.
Yeah.
And that's who answers the door.
Yeah, and she's a young woman. She's like
alone,
isolated. I don't know. She texts her boyfriend, but he doesn't answer or something, or she's like, and so like it's no one really maybe.
No, I don't think she had a boyfriend.
She does at the start. She texts like a guy.
Oh, I didn't
and
remember.
He doesn't answer, and she's like, oh, like
okay, I didn't remember.
So
that.
she's like, it's like no one maybe even knows where she is right now, and this creepy man opens the door, and he's like, oh, hey, sorry, I also booked this house.
Yeah.
And that's where the plot kicks off. And right away, that's just brilliant.
Right.
Because, yeah, to be like a young woman and then like, he's like, oh, no, it's fine. Come in. And like, oh my God, it's already your hair is standing on end.
You're like, ugh.
Yeah, he's like, no, it's cool. You can come in and we'll figure this out.
Right.
And so all the horror conventions, like everything we've been taught as film viewers over the fucking decades.
Right.
Is like, don't go in the room. Don't go down the stairs.
A serial killer.
Yeah.
He's not supposed to be there. He's lying to you.
Yes. So all your radar is like, your alarms are going off.
Right.
Like you're like, okay, this guy something's off with this guy. He's going to be.
And to the film's marketing credit, because I do think they marketed this film brilliantly, that's what the trailer sold you. So the trailer sells you, this is the horror movie. The horror movie is, you are now isolated alone in this house with a stranger.
Yes.
And you are a woman who is vulnerable with this man who could very easily overpower you.
Yeah.
And you don't know who he is. That's what the trailers sold you.
Yeah.
But that's not the actual film.
It's even more brilliant casting. Bring up the IMDb.
Sure. Yeah. You're talking about like the actress?
Yeah, the actress that plays I can't remember her character's name. Georgina Campbell.
Tess.
She plays Tess, and Bill Skarsgård is Keith. So Tess is like a woman of color too. She's black. He's white. It also adds an element of that.
Oh, okay, yeah,
too.
yeah. I didn't think of that.
So she's like uncomfortable because it's like, I don't know this weird white guy that's like inviting me in the house. That's kind of a thing. Also, it's like there could be a weird like date rapey thing going on because
who knows?
He cracks a bottle of wine. Do you remember that?
Yeah,
sequence?
100%, yeah.
And he's like, well, we're stuck here at the house. We might as well have a drink. Like, I'm going to have a glass, like, unless, you can watch me open it.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my God, that's so horrible. Like, every radar is going off.
The thing is, he is doing his best to not be a creep.
But he's trying. Yeah, he's trying to be a nice guy.
But the problem is, we are in her shoes. So we are in her mind where we are anxious and we feel uncomfortable, but he's not really doing anything creepy.
He's not actually doing anything wrong.
No,
because
he's not actually doing anything.
No, he's like, well, you can use my phone and you can check, and she checks his wallet and sees his ID. He is like who he says he is.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, I'm really sorry. I didn't expect this. I can help. We can try to contact the company. He's like, I'll sleep on the couch if you want. Like, there's nowhere else to go. It's the dead of night in this like terrible area. She has no idea where she is.
He's trying to be as friendly as possible, but the problem is it's so hard to not see him as creepy.
And she's like, well, I guess I'll sleep in my car. He's like, no, don't do that. That's bad. He's like, we don't know the area.
Yeah.
He's like, why don't I just offer, you can sort of have that like
you take the room
and I'll just sleep on the floor or on the couch.
And like, but then some weird shit starts happening.
Yeah.
So she wakes up.
She does like eventually start chatting with him and realizes he's a nice guy kind of thing.
But there's still some weirdness.
Going on.
So like she wakes up and her door is open.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
and he's having night terrors.
And at one point he has night terrors, which is like, ugh, this is weird.
So it's so perfect. The first half hour of this movie is like flawless execution of like red herrings and setting up things that like mislead you about the nature of where the film's going.
The film sets you up for one movie, but then
it turns
completely right turns and becomes a different film altogether.
Becomes like a creature horror film.
It becomes a creature. So that's the spoiler.
The spoiler.
The spoiler is they end up uncovering a secret entrance in the basement of this house, and inside the basement of this house is this horrific mutant mother,
like woman,
female-esque creature that is kidnapping and infantilizing, kidnapping people and turning them into like
her children.
Right.
And it's implied that this house is just been there since the 80s.
Yes. I think maybe even earlier.
Yeah. But so it turns out that the whole Bill Skarsgård thing is actually like a red herring. He's actually a nice guy.
No, yeah, right.
And they actually have a connection.
He's completely innocent. Yeah,
he's completely innocent.
He hasn't done anything.
And he ends up getting dragged away and I believe murdered in this bowels of this like cavern below the house.
So
and she gets captured.
So they discover a secret like compartment in the basement. And
that's amazing. The whole sequence.
And it leads to like we're talking about like practical shit.
Oh, yeah.
The set design is incredible for this. So they discover they find out there's like a fake wall in the basement. And then they find these rooms. There's like 4 rooms, and each room is like troubling. It's like a metal bed frame and like soiled mattresses.
And like a camera.
On a
it's tripod.
Like haunting. If you were going to create a horror scene or like a haunted house, like serial killer room.
Imagine these. And just imagine staying at a house
and finding this.
You go down in the basement, you find a hidden path, like a hidden hallway behind a wall. And it leads to a soiled mattress with a camera on a tripod.
Oh, you would get the fuck out of there immediately.
That's like, you don't need anything. Like, that's so horrifying.
Right.
Like, they talk about like just a practical, like simple but effective thing in a movie.
But that's not even the most horrifying part.
Yeah.
Because those rooms are terrifying. But then at the end of this little hall from these rooms is this small door which leads
even further into darkness, even further below the earth.
Below the earth, it's a literal staircase like into hell. It's it's just stairs into darkness. And it's this like small corridor staircase into just pure darkness, and you can't see a fucking thing.
Yeah.
And then that goes into these underground tunnels, which lead to all these different, little side rooms and things. And patrolling these tunnels is this fucking mutated monstrous woman.
It's implied to be like an inbred mutated like woman, the child.
Well, that's the twist ending.
Yeah, that's the twist.
That's the twist.
We talked about it, like the setup and everything.
So this film starts out as one thing and becomes a completely different thing.
It has one of the greatest like hard cuts I've seen in a very long time, where they descend into hell, into black darkness. And they have like just their like, I think a phone light or maybe a small flashlight. And then they are immediately like assaulted by this monstrous creature. And you're like, oh my God. And then just cuts.
And when Bill Skarsgård literally gets his head rammed into rock and gets his head bashed in, and it hard cuts to Justin Long in his little convertible singing a happy-go-lucky song in like Los Angeles.
Yeah. Amazing.
And that's when the film becomes something completely different.
Yeah. But the directing, the editing, all that
incredible.
Shit is like, you're like, holy shit.
Pacing is incredible.
Yeah.
Tone is incredible.
So then we hard cut to Justin Long, and he's the jackass owner of the house, and he just rents it out to a B&B rental company.
Yes.
So he owns like the property, but just.
And he's hard up for cash due to legal troubles.
Yeah.
And so he's forced to go down to the property to make sure it's in good enough shape to sell.
Yeah.
And that's how he ends up there.
Well, they establish that he has like sexual assault allegations.
Yeah, that's like all subplot
stuff.
shit.
Yeah, but it's fun. It's fun that they humanize and have subplots to these other characters. So again, it's leading you through this whole narrative, and you're like, okay, and yeah, I think that's effective. Yeah.
So he then comes to the house, and at this point, Tess and Bill Skarsgård's dead at this point, and Tess is now captured in the subterranean basement.
And this is like a week later, or 2 weeks, or maybe even longer.
I think it's only been like maybe a week.
A week or two?
I don't think it's been super long. So then Justin Long goes to the house, and Justin Long is playing this like...
Well, he's a sleazy piece of shit.
He's a sleazy actor, but he's like out of touch with reality very much. He kind of just sees his own reality.
Yeah.
So... one of the funniest things that made me laugh so fucking hard is he comes to the house. At this point, they're both trapped. Like the last people that just rented are nowhere to be seen.
Well, I would say the whole sexual assault, Me Too allegations against him are important because it shows that like he's a sleazy like asshole. And he's just super concerned with, he's like, wow, this is going to ruin my career.
He's all about self-preservation.
I just need money and to preserve my...
He's self-preservation.
So his motivation makes sense because he's like, I got to fly back to Detroit. I have some rental properties that I own there. I just got to sort this shit out. And he's like only concerned with the financials.
Yes.
So for him to show up to the house, he's just like, how much money can I get for it? And he immediately takes out a tape measure because he doesn't know anything about it. So
that's the funniest thing is he takes out a tape measure and he starts measuring everything and taking down notes to see so the potential money he's going to get. And he's so clueless. He goes into the basement where the secret secret wall hatch is already open. Yeah. And those slimy
haunting rooms.
And he doesn't even react.
No.
And he just starts using the tape.
He's like, more floor space.
He's like, oh my God, I'm going to get so much extra floor space. And that made me laugh so fucking much that he just is completely oblivious to the horror scene he's just walked into.
And he sees the clothing and the bags of the people that are missing. He's like, oh, what the fuck? Like, someone's staying here? And he like tries to call the company's like, it was bullshit.
Yeah. His character's so funny.
Amazing.
It's so good. Yeah. The oblivious like asshole.
And then he finds the stairway to hell
and starts measuring down the stairs from the entrance. And then finally he becomes...
I love... You see him Googling. He's like, can you count a basement as
floor space?
As floor space?
Yeah.
Like... in a listing.
Yeah, because he thinks he's hit the jackpot of like, oh my God, there's this extra like house underneath the basement. Meanwhile, it's like a horror movie.
Yeah.
So then he gets captured by the creature, and now he's in the same boat as Tess, and now he becomes part of the actual horror movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it transitions into, I would say, more traditional like
horror
hack
film.
and slash
horror.
And
then it's really a
movie.
horror film.
Yeah.
Without spoiling too much, the reveal is the creature is the result of horrific incest inbreeding from like a serial killer from like the 80s.
From the 80s, yeah.
Who still lives in this basement and is like a dying old man.
Yeah, because they discover him.
Yeah, they discover him thinking he's a victim, and the twist is that
that's all brilliant too, because it's also commenting, it's like social stuff with like the fall of the automotive industry in Detroit, and then like ruining those communities because as the jobs dried up, everyone like sold their houses, and you have a flashback where you see this original guy who owns the house in like 1980, and unbeknownst to the people around him, he's like this brutal serial killer. He's a demon.
Yeah.
But you see his neighbors being like, oh, sorry, Jim, like we got to sell the house and move. Like we're moving away. So the deterioration of that neighborhood also plays a big part and is like
allows him to
fold it into the
doing
story
what he's doing,
because it allows him to exist in this world where he just keeps like capturing people and dragging them to hell and into his basement.
Yeah.
So
and basically torturing people for decades.
Yes. Yeah.
So then let's not spoil everything here, but let's say like, okay.
Oh, one thing we should talk about is when she comes home from the interview. So she aces the interview, but before she gets captured and dragged to hell into this like torturous horror movie, she does go to the interview, Tess, and she comes back the next day, and there's like a guy down the street running at her and waving at her.
Okay, yes. I forgot to mention this. Yeah.
Don't go in the house.
Yeah, so there's a homeless person who's desperately yelling at her. But what we and her perceive is a homeless person coming to attack her.
Yeah, it seems like this guy is running down the street.
Like we're seeing.
It looks like he's going to attack her. It looks like he's crazy.
And we look at him and immediately judge him and go, okay, this this street urchin is coming to attack me. He's coming to try to steal from me.
Yeah.
And so she, frightened, runs into the house. The twist ends up being that looks can be deceiving, and he is in fact trying to warn her because he has lived in this area for his entire life and knows that some fucked up shit happens in that house, and he has seen that creature, that like woman,
yes,
that thing,
because it comes out at night and hunts people down.
Yes,
yeah, and
so he has seen, so he knows, and he's actually trying to do the right thing.
Yes,
but because of his appearance. She doesn't listen.
Brilliant. And then after Justin Long gets captured, she ends up escaping the house and gets out into broad daylight. But she's like covered in blood and dirt and shit. And like she has no ID. She has no keys or anything on her. She's nothing on her. And it's brilliant because, again, tying into the urban decay and the deterioration of the neighborhood and stuff, she runs for help. And finds police officers in the middle of the movie. She actually finds the cops. She's like, please, you have to help me. I'm at this house and there's this monster and it's like killing people and I got attacked. And they look at this like young, black, disheveled woman covered in blood and shit. And they're like, some crackhead or whatever. Like, we don't have time to deal with it.
They write her off as a homeless.
They write her off as like a homeless, like crazy woman.
Yep.
And then they get a call like over the radio that there's a shooting down like a few blocks over, and they're like, well, do you have like any information? Like you don't have an ID on you. We can't like verify who you are. You're saying that you're staying at this house, but like, how can we believe you? And so like, fuck this. And the cops just drive away.
They just fuck off.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like, I love the idea that like the protagonist actually finds the police halfway through the movie.
And they do nothing.
And they're just like, nah.
They write her off. Yeah, they write her off.
Brilliant.
So let's not spoil the climax of this movie.
Sure.
But let's get into, so obviously we both really liked it.
Yep. I thought it was one of the best movies of the year.
It was excellent. It reminds me so much of Parasite.
I was actually going to say that too.
It's a film that if you go in blind, you are going to be heavily rewarded because the film starts out as one thing, and then takes a hard turn and becomes something completely different.
Yeah, without spoiling Parasite,
there's a moment.
Same thing.
There's
like
a moment.
You hit this moment,
and you're like, what?
And I want to talk about this too. Is like, I love a movie when you're like. In a movie, you go in blind, and it hits this point where you're like, I have no idea where this is going.
But I'm heavily invested.
Yeah, you're invested, you're excited, but you're like, this could go anywhere.
Right.
I love that. And Parasite and this movie both feature that, where it's like, you hit a certain point in the story, and you're like, I don't know who's going to live. I don't know who's going to die. I don't know what is coming. I don't know what's around the corner.
Happening.
I don't know what's happening, but it's like amazing.
But I'm invested and I want to know.
Yeah.
The pacing is perfect. The editing is fantastic. The acting is great. It's like all pluses. It's excellent. I highly recommend it.
Yeah.
I do think, I'm going to make a complaint.
Okay.
I think the third act becomes a little too goofy.
It's a little bit cheesy.
Yeah, it becomes cheesy in the third act, which is unfortunate. I wish they didn't go for the cheesiness of the third act.
Yeah.
I think it gets a little too stupid and over the top, but it's still really good.
I want to comment on one other thing because I rewatched this movie with my wife.
Okay.
And it rewards a rewatch. So I don't know, have you rewatched it?
No, I haven't rewatched it since.
There's an amazing scene, and I want to point this out because I'm not sure how many people have caught this. I'm sure other smarter people than me have. But when you rewatch it, you're rewarded because, again, like we spent so much time describing when she first shows up and Bill Skarsgård is so creepy and you think that he's going to be the villain and he's going to be the horror element. She ends up opening up and loosening up to him, and they sit down and they start talking about their lives, and they realize they have a lot in common. She loves like film and jazz and music, and he's like a young like director, and he's directed this film that she really likes, and they're chatting, and they start discussing their personal lives a little bit. And he's like, oh, so like, are you single? Are you seeing anyone or something? And she's like, well, you know, I have a boyfriend, but it's not really working out. And she has this fucking monologue, this little quick monologue where she's like, you know, with my relationship with like my boyfriend, it feels like he just wants this pet, you know? It feels like he just wants to trap me, and like I just feel trapped in this relationship where he just wants to like. She describes the movie in the monologue.
Oh,
and
interesting.
it's like a metaphor because she basically explains. She has this like sort of sarcastic, like non-serious line. We should almost like bring it up or something where she's like, it's so cliche. She's like, when you get into these relationships where it's like, it almost feels like you get dragged into the basement and like you're just she describes what happens in the movie.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's cool, that rewards the rewatch. That's cool.
I'm going to take a pause here and I'm actually going to look it up because like.
Do you want me to actually bring up that scene?
Sure, yeah.
I can well, I wouldn't know what to look up though. Yeah, I don't really want
to. I'll bring it up.
As you search there on your phone.
Here we go. Okay.
Okay, yeah. You have the line.
So this is an amazing little like Easter egg nugget that they hide in the movie. So as she's talking with Keith, Bill Skarsgård, Tess says like about her relationship. It's such a cliche. The guy who thinks love and control are the same thing. And the girl who lets herself become, I don't know, some kind of pet or something. Oh my God.
So
like,
which is like the serial killer guy kidnapping women, basically.
Thinks love and control are the same thing, and the girl who lets herself become a pet. The monster woman thinks love and control is the same thing and captures people to become her pet.
Yeah.
Amazing.
It's quite good. It's quite
very good movie.
Yeah, it's good. Literally, my only complaint is I think it gets a little too goofy in the third act and stretches the realm of possibility a little bit.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
But I mean,
I'm willing to forgive.
I'm willing to forget it. Yeah. We're nitpicking. We're nitpicking.
Did you? It took me a while to realize the title too, Barbarian.
I still don't get it.
They say that it's on Barbary Street. That's the street that the house on. So anyone who lives on Barbary Street would be a barbarian.
Oh, clever.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, no, I never got the title. I was like, it's an interesting, bold title, but
yeah. So
that's
go.
That's a total hidden gem. Yeah. Barbarian, it's going to be like the next It Follows. It's going to be one of those ones that people are going to be talking and gushing about, and it's like the under-the-radar one.
Well, we also should briefly talk about it's Zach Cregger. Zach Cregger is one of the whitest kids you know.
Oh, that's who directed it?
Yes.
Oh, cool. And has he done anything else?
This is basically his first film. He did direct that terrible Playboy comedy movie with the other whitest kids you know actor who passed away.
Okay. But like this is where you're starting?
So
like,
he has the whole whitest kids you know comedy troupe.
Which has nothing to do with horror.
It's all just like internet comedy sketches. And then he has this big flop where he tries to direct. He gets some money, but the studio wants him to direct this like shitty, like gross out comedy movie. And then he's like, after that, my career's over. He's like, no one wants to give me any money anymore. Like I had this big embarrassing flop. And so he worked his way back up. Someone gave him a chance, or he finally has an opportunity and like blows it out of the water.
And he knocks it
like,
out of the fucking
amazing.
park. Yeah. The practical effects are very good in this. The cinematography is very good in this.
So it's very exciting.
Very competent.
Yeah.
So like if this is him, like
this is him being like, this is my mark. This is my So
promising,
I'm very excited to see what he does next.
See what he does next. Hopefully it's not like a flash in the pan and he can just never recapture the magic of this.
We'll have to see.
Hopefully. Hopefully. I'm hoping that's not the case and we get some new blood.
Yeah.
We desperately need some new blood in the directing sphere. Like we need some good new creative directors, you know?
Yeah.
We don't have enough right now.
Especially in horror, too.
We can't just ask fucking I just mean in general.
In general.
We can't just ask Christopher Nolan and Danny Villeneuve to do everything. You know what I mean? Like
I know what you
they
mean.
Can't shoulder the creative part of Hollywood alone, you know?
Yeah.
Especially because a lot of other directors are getting old and phoning in a lot of shit now, you know? Like Ridley Scott.
Hey, I'm excited for Napoleon. I'll watch it.
That was a clip from the trailer of Napoleon that you just heard there. That's an actual... I wish I had a fart noise programmed on this actual thing. Okay, next on my list, switching from that, let's switch to a movie I am not going to recommend.
Okay.
1983's Flashdance.
I mean...
What a feeling! Bum, 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 bum.
Yeah,
Do you know anything about this movie?
I know that it has the iconic dance, Flashdance,
yes.
in it.
So
I don't know anything else about it. I've never actually seen it.
Yeah, and again, it was one of I love the 80s, and I'm always looking for the 80s movies that I have not watched. And again, like you, all I knew about it was the iconic final dance scene, which I had seen on YouTube before.
Yeah.
The soundtrack, which is phenomenal. It's got the Maniac, and it's got the iconic
Maniac
on the floor. Yeah. And she's dancing like she's never danced before. Sorry, folks. I know that was awful to listen to. And then there's also the What a Feeling. The actual iconic Flashdance
killer
song.
Soundtrack. I mean,
killer soundtrack. Yeah, killer iconic soundtrack. It's great dance sequences. The basic plot follows Jennifer Beal plays Alex. Alex she works in a steel mill, which is a very masculine, tough guy job, but she's like this meek, slender dancer body woman. And so by day, she works in a steel mill, and by night, she works in a cabaret club. And she aspires to be a professional dancer, and she practices and kills herself in her spare time practicing dance because she lives in like this elaborate, I think that would never exist now. She lives in like a warehouse.
Oh, really?
She's got like a warehouse that's converted into like this giant like apartment. It's like it's a movie logic, living situation.
Where does this take place? Like, where is she?
In some city. It could be New York. I have no fucking idea.
Okay. It's not really clear.
I don't know that it matters though. Okay. It's not like that's not really an element of the movie.
It's not like she's like in LA.
I think it might be in Toronto. Yeah, sure, it's in Toronto. I think it might be New York. Anytime it's like a big city, I just assume they put it in New York in their minds.
Yeah.
But I don't think it matters.
Okay.
She has no formal dance training, and she wants to make it big, and that's her dream. And she meets Nick, who is the owner of the steel mill and a little bit older than her, a little bit more experienced. And he falls for her after he sees her perform at a cabaret. He's trying to get close to her while she is trying to put distance between them because she wants to pursue her dream. She's
like, I don't have time for romance, kind of thing. Yeah,
and then there's some other subplot shit with her friends. Her friends who work at the cabaret club, they aspire to do other things. Like one of them wants to be a stand-up guy, and like one of her other friends wants to be a professional skater, and they have their own aspirations. And the movie is all about seize the day and follow your dreams. Don't listen to the critics. Don't let people stop you. It's a beautiful message. It's not a good movie. It's a very like slow, boring paced film. None of the characters really hook you per se. Like you want to root for Jennifer Beal, but like they don't really give her a lot. Like it's not like she has a lot of great dialogue. You don't really get to know her all that well. Like she literally has like one character thing, which is like, I just dream of being a dancer.
Yeah.
It's like that's all her character is. She exists for that purpose.
Does she have like a family around her that's like...
No, they don't. Again, there's no one really gets fleshed out. It's very insular. Okay. It's like her friends are her family.
Is she living alone? Like there's like,
she lives alone.
It's not like her mom and dad.
She has like a pet dog.
Okay. It's not like she has her family that's like, we support you, or like, we don't want you to be a dancer or something like that.
It's like, it feels like it's a very mid movie. It's a very like 6 out of 10. It doesn't do anything bad, but it doesn't really do anything good. Honestly, save yourself the time. You don't need to watch the movie. Just listen to the soundtrack and look up the incredible dance sequences. There's 2 really good dance sequences in this film. The final one, and there's like kind of one at like the midway point.
Well,
look those up.
Is it like a dance off or a challenge that she wins? Does she win a competition or something? So she,
through Nick's connections, she is able to get an audition to be a part of like, I don't know, the Royal Dance Academy or some shit. So the climax of the film is she has this very important audition. So throughout the movie, she keeps chickening out because when she goes to apply, she has 0 formal dance training. Yeah. So she thinks that immediately rules her out, which in reality it probably would, but whatever. For the movie, let's say, no, they would still give her a shot. But she has no dance training whatsoever formally. She's an incredible dancer. I'm going to give Jennifer Beal some credit. She did a great job portraying a professional dancer. It's very believable. Mm-hmm. Most of the heavy lifting is done by body doubles.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Okay, so she didn't do. Okay. Yeah. Like I initially thought she did all that shit. Yeah. She does not. But that's
a shame because with something like that.
Well, no, but I'm going to give her credit because she definitely has a sleek body of a dancer. Like so, she definitely got herself in shape. She has like crazy thick muscular legs.
And she like emotes everything that she's asked to do.
It's very believable.
Yeah. Okay. But she's not physically doing insanely difficult dance sequences
and
or something?
I don't necessarily need the actor to do that, to be honest, because the way they shoot it is so good, you can't really tell.
Yeah.
It's not like obnoxious where it's like, you know, she does like a backflip and then it hard cuts to her like landing it and going like, you know, like it's not, they seamlessly blend it in where it does look like her doing it. And she does a lot of the movements. So just YouTube the clips of her dancing. You don't need to see it. The romance, there's not much chemistry between the main characters. It kind of is flat and boring. All the side characters are kind of whatever. Even her character is just kind of bland. There's just not a lot to hook you. That's it.
Do you think this is famous simply for the killer soundtrack and those couple sequences?
Yes.
And then
I think
as a whole, it's maybe not like...
This is a film that like I almost wish I didn't see it. And in my mind, I was like, I pictured a much better film that had those great elements, because the soundtrack is like 8 and 9 out of 10. The dance sequence is like 8 and 9 out of 10. The movie's like 6 out of 10.
Okay.
You know, so it's like almost the movie that, and that's probably why it got huge, is I think people heard those songs or, you know, heard that there was this like really fun, like, you know, dance movie. For whatever reason, it was because it was a big sleeper hit. I think it like had a budget of like $6 million and ended up grossing like $80 million or something insane. Like it was a huge sleeper hit.
Yeah.
But that's my opinion. Yeah, it's okay. It's just okay. Yeah. Don't expect much. Okay. How many more do you have on your list?
I've got 1 or 2 more, I think.
Okay. I'll give you another one and then we'll cut to you.
Sure.
I watched...
Here, actually, we'll take a break for a second.
We are not taking a break. The show will continue. Whether or not you're listening, I'm going to continue talking. All right. Okay, we'll take a break here. This podcast is sponsored by the fine folks at Fly By Night Movies, Games, and Toys. Fly By Night Movies, Games, and Toys is your one-stop shop for everything cool and collectible. We are located in the heart of downtown Oshawa. That is Oshawa, Ontario, Canada. If you're looking for movies, video games, and toys, check us out. We are worth the drive. Okay, we are back.
Right.
You just came back from taking a massive shit, I believe. Is that correct?
Massive.
A global scale dump, I think. What you probably just did in the bathroom probably was an act of terrorism.
I probably broke your toilet.
Wouldn't be the first time.
All right, what's your next pick?
Okay, let's get back into it. My next pick... pick is such an interesting word because pick makes it sound like...
Oh, yeah, I guess.
Yeah, it's like, oh,
it's not really a pick.
No, it's not really a pick. It's like the next thing on my list.
The next thing on your
list.
Next
item on my list. Because it's not like I picked these to watch, but I'm not necessarily picking these as like, these are the best films you need to watch.
Yes,
like, no. Many of these you don't need to watch. The majority. I watched from 1974, Death Wish.
Oh, shit. Okay.
The original Death Wish with Mr. Charles Bronson. Charles Bronson. I'd never seen this movie before because I don't really like 70s movies. I find them a little too slow. We've talked about this before. So I very rarely like go out of my way to watch 60s and 70s
You're allowed
movies.
to be wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
We've discussed this.
So basic plot of Death Wish, for anyone that doesn't know, it's a very simple revenge action movie plot. It follows Charles Bronson, who plays the main character. Paul Kersey, I think is the character's name. Don't ask me why I know that. I'm pretty sure that's what the character's name is. He's like a very successful architect in Toronto. I keep saying Toronto, in New York. And
he's an architect?
He's an architect.
So he's like
a respected,
Yeah.
He's a very professional guy. Yeah.
I figured he'd be more blue collar or something.
Nope.
Okay.
No, he's playing the opposite of what you're thinking. Yeah.
Remember,
this is the original. This is not before. This is before the series turned into what it became, the schlock, right?
Yeah.
So starts off, Paul Kersey's got a great job, great career. He's got a loving family, and his wife. He has a wife. And he has like some like, I don't know, midtown apartment or some shit in New York. It's like a pretty sizable, nice little apartment. I don't know if it's an apartment or a condo or what.
He'd probably make pretty good money if he's an architect.
Oh yeah, he makes good money. He's very like middle class, like upper middle class, right? and he has a daughter who is engaged. So he has like a son-in-law. They actually might be married, but I'm pretty sure they're engaged. I don't remember 100%. And his wife and daughter are heinously attacked and sexually assaulted in his Midtown apartment. It is a brutal sequence.
Jesus. Okay.
One of the leaders is a young Jeff Goldblum.
What?
Yes. Let me bring this up just so you can see.
What?
Yes. Jeff Goldblum.
He plays like a villainous.
Jeff Goldblum plays a grapist in this movie. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Let me bring this up.
You're gonna wish you were dead after I'm through with
yeah.
you.
Look at this. Look at this.
Oh my God. He got like a bandana. He looks like a street. He looks like he's from the Warriors.
Yeah.
He looked like he walked off the set of the Warriors.
Yeah, this is what he looks like in the movie. He's like a slimy piece of shit.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Can you dig in?
Yeah, he's wearing like a crown hat, like fucking Jughead from like the Archie
Jughead,
comics.
Yeah.
Yeah. So him and
the main villain?
So him and these scumbags sexually, they rob and brutally
attack,
beat and sexually assault his wife and daughter.
Do they survive? Or are they?
So I believe the wife is killed, but the daughter survives. But she's like horrifically traumatized and ends up having to go into like
a
mental health like care facility.
Yeah.
That's one of the subplots of the movie. The movie very quickly removes his family after this. So it's like, I think the wife dies and then...
Horrific tragedy and like horrible...
Yeah, brutal. And it's played very straight. It's not like goofy.
Yeah.
It's like, ugh, this is uncomfortable. But I mean, that's the point, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
It's
so then Paul Kersey, Bronson's character, he's basically at a crossroads. And he doesn't quite know what to do because his family is now like broken up, destroyed. Yeah. I believe his wife died. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure she died in the incident. The daughter has to go into psychiatric care.
Yeah.
And he has awkward exchanges with the son-in-law because the son-in-law is more of like an effeminate, like sensitive guy, and he doesn't really know what to do. He's trying his best to help his wife, which is Charles Bronson's daughter.
Yeah.
And the two of them kind of argue about like what's the best way to go about that. And then those two characters kind of disappear from the movie. So
just left with Charles Bronson.
He left with Charles Bronson,
okay,
who's at this moment in his life where he just doesn't really know what to do with himself. And his boss suggests, he's like, look, you've just had this horrific tragedy. You need to basically take a break.
Take some time off.
You need to take some time off.
Yeah.
They're like, we have a project for you. Because he's like, no, I want to keep working. I want to keep busy. They're like, we have a project for you. It's in Arizona. So it's completely out of the state. You're going to like it. The person you're dealing with is kind of like an old-timey, like, he's like an oil tycoon or something, but it's very much like you're going to get out of the city.
So far, this sounds like a tragic drama. It sounds like very sad.
And the first film very much is.
It's sad.
Not a... Yeah. The first film is not... If you're expecting an exploitative schlockfest...
When I hear Death Wish, I always think of like shoot 'em up,
and that's
like
what
crazy,
the series
like,
became.
Action and stuff.
Right, and the series became exploitative schlock. But the original film is much more slower paced and contemplative. Okay. And so Paul Kersey goes on this work vacation to Arizona where he meets this old-timey kind of business tycoon who believes in like, was it the Fifth Amendment is the right to bear arms? I believe.
Something like,
He believes in like, he's a big believer
in like... NRA guy.
Yes, he's like a big NRA guy, very big like... Sometimes the law is inadequate type guy. He's like, so Paul gets a taste of like the old, kind of like an old West kind of mentality.
Justice.
Yeah, like frontier justice. Yeah.
Jesus.
And the guy takes him shooting and like gives him a taste of like, he just gets out of the city. He gets out of that element altogether, and he's in a different atmosphere. And
this is a story about how a man becomes radicalized into becoming like a right-wing gun nut.
In a sense. In a sense, yes. Yes, in a sense, yeah. So he then...
Amazing.
So the business guy actually gifts him a revolver. He gifts him a gun.
Of course.
And Paul comes home and he has the gun.
What better thing to have like emotionally devastated, disturbed man who's lost everything? Just give him a gun.
Yeah, give the man a gun and let's see how this turns out. So then Paul...
Okay.
I don't remember exactly how this plays out, but essentially, Paul has an incident and he happens to have the gun on him and he ends up shooting and killing somebody that is trying to rob him.
Okay.
So he has a moment where he enacts vigilantism and street justice. And then what proceeds? So that's like at the midpoint of the movie. And then what comes like what the remainder of the film turns into is Paul basically starts like, I don't even know, the way to put this is like, he starts like living again. And he like, cause he's all depressed and like unfocused, but by going out into the streets and in his mind, evening the scales.
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
He starts actually being like a more positive, like happier person. So it's actually
after murdering a man.
Yeah, because what he starts doing is he literally starts cruising the streets looking for scumbags that are going to like try to accost him. And then he just like executes them with the gun.
Jesus.
So he starts going out and just like executing like street urchin, like pieces of shit.
So
like
scumbags. He
scumbags.
basically becomes like the Punisher then. Like a vigilante anti-hero.
Oh yeah,
like,
that's literally
like,
what that's the whole thing.
I'm going to punish criminals.
That's literally it.
Basically.
Is he starts going out and just like cleaning up the streets, man. He's taking out the trash.
Good Lord.
But then what ends up happening is the police.
Yeah, wouldn't the police be like, hey, this guy's shooting people?
Well, they don't know initially that it's one person. Because, so a big thing of this film, and maybe you can speak to this a bit because I'm a little naive, but was it the 70s that New York had an insane crime problem? I believe it was the 70s.
It trickled into the 70s with the oil and gas crisis, but it was mainly, I think, the late 70s to early 80s because there was...
But crime was like rampant
about New York
in New York.
City?
Yes. Like to the point where it was common for like muggings were common, sexual assaults were common. The subways were not safe like at night. Like that was a thing for a long time.
The 70s and early 80s were pretty bad for crime in New York City.
So like I know that so a big theme of this film is the crime epidemic that was a real thing in New York. So like this is actually touching on a nerve of like this was a real thing going on in New York, that crime had become so rampant that the police were basically unequipped and didn't have the manpower to fully like contain the problem.
Yeah.
And it got out of hand and it did push people to start doing shit like this, as crazy as that sounds. Like the infamous case is the Bernie Getz.
Yeah, is that the subway shooting?
Subway vigilante.
80s,
I'm going to quickly look up Bernie Getz because the thing that I kept wondering while I was watching this was, did Bernie Getz, did that incident turn, because I think this movie's based on a book.
It, I think.
Yeah, okay, so this was 84.
So a decade before.
So this movie actually influenced Bernie Getz then.
He would have probably been, whether subconsciously or not. Like,
no, here's what's so fucking eerie. There's a scene in this movie that is exactly what happened to Bernie Getz.
Oh,
so Charles Bronson's minding his own business on the subway, reading a newspaper, and these two hoodlums come up. They take out knives and they try to rob him, and Bronson just executes the two of them right then and there. That's exactly what happened to Bernie Getz.
It's haunting.
It's just like, holy shit.
Yeah.
So this movie predicted, I guess, what was going to end up happening, you know?
Toxic vigilantism of like murdering and like violence.
It's what ends up happening when you can't control crime in your city is people get pushed to the brink and they can't take it anymore, right? And they start enacting vigilantism. So this detective gets tasked. He's actually one of the better. He's other than Charles Branson's character, Paul Kersey. This detective gets. I don't know who the actor who plays him is, but he's very good. And he gets tasked with trying to figure out just what the fuck's going on and where all these murders are coming up and seeing the correlation. He ends up figuring out that it's Charles Bronson. Interestingly, in the backdrop of all this, so we got Bronson, Paul, who's going out at night and he's enacting street justice and vigilantism, and he's executing criminals as he sees them, and he's looking for trouble, and this is giving him a new lease on life. And while that's happening, the city is responding. So the city is a character itself in the movie, and we see through news reports the effect that his work is having, and it's actually inspiring other vigilantism.
Jesus.
So other people start doing like acts of street justice. So like at one point there's a news segment where like these construction workers, they catch this guy trying to like do something, or he's like trying to like, I don't know, rob from the construction site or something, and they literally brutally beat the fuck out of this guy. And like
this is horrifying.
Right, because this is what ends up happening when vigilantism runs amok, right?
It's weird to like lionize this though, like as like it's like the solution is like mob violence and like
this is the thing in the first movie.
Yeah,
the first
but it's
movie,
an interesting social commentary.
The first movie gives you that, like you get to see both sides of it, where it's like there's positives and negatives to vigilantism, but collectively we all agree that isn't the proper solution. Like we have decided as a society that we need to have an institution that is separate, that maintains law and order, and flaws or not, whatever you want to say about the police. We have decided as a society that is the solution. Not to have the individual, but have the institution manage crime, basically uphold the law, right?
Yeah.
But the film gives you that philosophical debate of like the pros and cons of both. Because like Paul Kersey points out many times, he's like, the police can't be everywhere at all times. So it's like there are flaws in that system. It's not perfect, right?
Yeah, yeah.
The first film is very much trying to see both sides of it. The later films become just straight up like schlock fest. Like, you want to see Charles Bronson kill some fucking scumbags? Take out these goddamn like sexual deviants?
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the ironies of the movie, the group that attacks, like the Jeff Goldblum gang that attacks the family, he never gets comeuppance.
Oh, interesting.
They never show up again.
Yeah,
They're only in that one scene.
Yeah.
So everyone that
the idea
Paul
is that it's
Kersey,
just random violence can
Yeah, well the idea is that Paul Kersey, his bloodlust is never satiated. It's never enough. He just keeps wanting more, right? Like when is enough? So
how many people do you have to kill?
Right. Like, so this all climaxes. Yeah. It has a very interesting ending.
So he's basically a demon then, because he's like
it becomes more of a political issue because they figure out that it's Paul Kersey. And rather than immediately arrest him and get a whole trial and conviction and make him they're worried he'll become a martyr for a cause because New York. So rather, they are concerned that if they give him spotlight and attention, it's going to what's what I'm looking for? It's going to create a movement. Like it's going to inspire.
Yeah,
it's going to inspire other people, and it's going to create this movement. So they're like, no, we need this quietly swept under the rug.
Oh, so like corrupt politicians being like, we don't want this in the news cycle.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
So then they order the police chief or detective, whoever the hell he is, to quietly threaten Paul Kersey's character. Like, look, we know you're doing this. You need to stop. And this all climaxes into they give him an ultimatum, which is they end up getting him where they have hard evidence now that he killed someone. And they go, look, we need you to leave the city and never return, or we're going to charge you. But if you leave the city, this gun, which we know you've used, it's going to end up in the river.
That's so dark.
It is dark. I know. It has a really dark ending that's like, holy shit. Yeah. So then that's the setup is Paul Kersey goes away and he goes to another city.
And that's like all the subsequent movies.
That's all the subsequent ones. And then it actually, I like the end shot. So the end shot is he's in like a subway or it's like a train station, and there's like these hoodlums and they're attacking this woman, and they like fuck with her stuff, and like she drops all her bags, and then he sees this and he walks up and he helps the woman, and then the scumbag guys are all like, fuck you, man. And then he just looks at them like stone cold, and he smirks, and he takes out his finger and he goes, and that's how it cuts. That's how it ends.
So Did you like Death Wish?
I liked it.
Yeah,
I liked it. But I also like The Punisher. So you already know what side of the debate I'm on. I'm all for a vigilante. I'm all for street justice. So
it sounds like the story of a man who learned nothing and just learned that violence is the answer.
Yeah,
to
it's basically Travis Bickle if he just kept going.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Like, and the irony that like just killing people will solve the problem because like no one learns anything or like society doesn't grow or change from just murder and death.
That isn't the solution.
And in fact, he's perpetuating a cycle where like
of violence.
If some young person like robs somebody or does something wrong and then he kills them, then it's like, what about that person's family? And like it just creates
violence
a cycle
begets
of violence.
Yeah. I'm cool with it though. I don't. Yeah, but it makes for an entertaining movie. So who cares?
And he's in fact creating more crime in the city because he's creating homicides and he's creating.
Hey, look, the police can't be everywhere at once.
There's too much crime in the city. You know what the solution is? More crime.
The police. The police can't help you. The police have no power. They can't be everywhere at once.
Does this have an amazing trailer like that? Is it like
I don't know, but I'm assuming
Charles Bronson.
The police are inadequate to handle the justice you require. Sometimes the average citizen is forced to take justice into their own hands. Death Wish. Starring Charles Bronson. I also want to gush about Charles Bronson for a second.
Is he actually good? Like
he is excellent. Yeah. Charles Bronson is a good actor in that he is a great natural actor. So
I can't think of anything else he's in other than Death Wish movies.
He was in The Great Escape with Steve McQueen. Okay. He's the digging guy.
Yeah.
He's like, I won't go back down in there. When he was like scarred from like he's great in that. He's in The Mechanic, the original, which is another movie I would highly recommend.
Yeah.
The Mechanic is better than Death Wish.
Oh.
He plays like a retired hitman who takes like an underling under his wing.
That sounds awesome.
And it's like 70s slow burn. Like, it's good. Yeah.
Cool.
What did I just call it?
The Mechanic?
The Mechanic. The Mechanic is a better movie than Death Wish. But Death Wish is good. This is gonna sound awful. I think I would rather like the shitty schlocky like 80s sequels that came out of it because I just want to laugh at them and have a good time.
They're just like
the first one's a little too slow for me, but it's solid. It's worth a watch.
Did you watch the sequels at all? Or
not yet.
Okay. Oh, because I've heard they've just become insane.
Well, they get to 5.
5.
They got to Death Wish 5. Yeah. Yeah, and then I didn't touch the shitty remake with fucking Bruce Willis, which I won't.
Whatever. Yeah.
I do recommend. It's not amazing, but I do recommend the pseudo remake with Kevin Bacon I think it was called Death Warrant. You know what I'm talking about?
No.
Here, let me look this up real quick.
They remade these with Kevin Bacon?
It's not, but it is. Like it's not an official remake. Let me just look this up. The movie Death Sentence. Yeah, have you ever heard of
Death Sentence? No, I've never heard of this.
Oh, for fuck's sakes. Hold on a sec here. Yeah, this movie. You ever heard of this movie?
No.
Yeah.
No.
2007, Death Sentence with Kevin Bacon.
From the director of Saw.
It's solid. It's a solid movie. It's not terrible. It's if you like the revenge formula, like the action revenge formula, the thriller type, you'll like Death Sentence, and Kevin Bacon delivers an incredible performance in this movie.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's really good. It's basically his family gets attacked by like these gangbangers, and then he's just like some business guy, and then you can see in the photos here what he turns into with like a shaved head, and he literally like
he looks haunting. In this
he
image.
literally like gives up his humanity.
We're looking at a picture.
A tale of vengeance.
We're looking at a picture of Kevin Bacon, completely shaved head. He's got scars all over his scalp.
Yeah, but
he's got bags under his eyes. He just looks haunting.
But unlike Death Wish, which ends with like kind of a, he's still at large.
Yeah.
This movie does a better job of delivering the punchline of like the actual moral of the story is like violence isn't necessarily the solution because you just end up destroying yourself.
Yeah.
So, but Death Sentence is good. There's a free little bonus for you guys there. I do recommend it. It's not amazing. It's like a solid like 6.5 out of 10.
Okay. I didn't know it existed.
It's got some really good action set pieces. There's a really cool one take done in a parking lot where he's getting chased.
Ooh.
It's like a parking lot structure.
I'm a big sucker for.
It's
really
a really
long,
cool one because the camera goes
takes.
like out and then like down the
Follows
different levels
through the levels of the building.
of the parking of the like parking building.
Cool.
That's cool. So this is a good movie. Death Wish. What I wanted to talk about Charles Bronson again more. So Bronson is a great natural actor. He's not an incredible actor, but he's kind of like that old school, just like he has a character he's good at playing, and it feels so fucking natural that
he looks like he's like a real person. Like on the screen, he looks like he belongs in the frame.
He's totally believable. He's totally believable. He owns the scenes he's in. He's just very natural feeling. I get why Charles Bronson became popular.
There's some sort of essence to actors that sometimes have where you're like, it suits like whatever they're in.
Looks like a Steve McQueen.
Looks like a person. That's a real person, and they're doing something real in the scene.
I'm gonna equate him.
You can put them on a set,
yeah,
but then they make it real by just.
I'm gonna equate him to like Marlon Brando, where it's that very natural way of acting, and that's the Charles Bronson type style, where it's very naturalistic. It doesn't feel forced. They're just kind of playing a version of themselves, and it comes across as very authentic and natural, and it's great. It's unfortunate because Bronson didn't ever really get, like,
it seems like he got railroaded into these, and he just did 5 of these.
I was just gonna say it's unfortunate because they never really gave him films to give him a chance to show a ton of more range. He basically got typecast into, oh, you're the action guy, you're the tough man, you're the ultimate tough man. We're just gonna only let you make those movies, and that's basically all he did the rest of his career. But he never got like a Godfather role, which I'm confident he could have totally done something like that,
a more dramatic role.
Yeah. There you go. That's my next pick.
Well, you've set me up for a good transition because speaking of Kevin Bacon, I watched a movie called Mystic River.
Oh, I don't like this movie. You talking about that sappy fucking one with Sean Penn?
This is the Sean Penn, Kevin Bacon, and I think it's Larry Fishburne is in it as well. I can't remember the other, but it's 2003 Clint Eastwood.
I know exactly what it is. Take it away. Take it away.
I hated this movie.
I hated this movie too. Thank fucking Christ. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I was so worried I was just going to have to sit through 10 minutes of you gushing about it.
God, no.
Okay, go for the what's the basic plot?
The short, like, concise thing I'll say is, like, watching this movie now in, like, 2023, so it's been 20 years since this came out. I feel like we've come a long way. There was, like I watched this and I was like, oh, 2003.
It was a critically acclaimed supernova when it came out.
Yeah.
Like, it won a shit ton.
Swept a bunch of stuff. Sean Penn, I think, won the Academy Award for this performance, I believe.
It's highly regarded. Mystic River is a movie that I recently watched. You
recently watched it too?
Like 2 years ago.
Okay, yeah, because I watched it like earlier this year.
I couldn't get through the movie, dude. I got like 40 minutes in and I was like, fuck this.
I'm just happy that you have context for it. Like you did watch it.
No, I've seen it. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, there's some problems going on.
There's a lot of problems with it. And I like Clint Eastwood as...
Okay, the 76 Academy Awards, it was nominated for 6 awards.
I think it won Best Picture.
And Penn and Robbins both won in their categories. So they won
Robbins,
Best Actor, and Tim Robbins won Best Supporting Actor. Fuck off.
Yeah. I agree. But didn't it win Best Picture? I think it won Best Picture. Because I think that's why it was on my list. I was making a list of like what were all the Academy Award winning films. Like I went through this phase where I'm like, all right, let's see what the Academy says are the greatest films of all time, and I'm gonna watch all these.
I
think it won.
It was nominated, but it did not win Best Picture.
Okay,
I don't think.
Right. But it was
won
still...
Best Actor and Best Supporting.
Okay, it still ended up on my radar because of the Academy acclaim. Yeah.
Yeah. So
go ahead. What's the basic premise?
So this movie is like a long, bloated, like character drama murder mystery.
Yep.
About like they're in Boston. So like South Boston,
it's heavy Boston.
So everyone has like
the
thick,
obnoxious accent.
Not very good, I don't think. Yeah. Boston. I'm not from Boston, but like everyone's doing the whole like
Bobby.
Yeah,
Bobby. You guys were hanging out with Bobby. What the fuck is that?
They're all doing that.
I don't even know if that was a good Boston accent. I have no idea.
Yeah. So
our American listeners are shredding us right now.
So the movie is about 3 friends, 3 young kids, and we flash back to like the 70s.
Yep.
and it's 3 young boys, and they're all playing in the street. And this car comes up,
and they abduct.
They abduct the Tim Robbins child
character.
version of Tim Robbins' character.
Yep.
And it's like the police chief from The Wire is the guy. Do you remember that actor?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so he's like, I'm a police officer. You kids are misbehaving, and like one of you needs to come with me, because they like draw their names in cement.
Yep.
They're like, we'll be friends forever. It's like so like cliche. I feel like it's like 3 best friends. I wonder where life will lead us. Right. Let's all write our names in the cement. And then immediately just a car comes up and he's like, you got to come with me. Childhood trauma. And like the kid gets taken away and brutally raped and tortured for like 4 days.
Yeah.
And eventually he's rescued. And then the movie flashes forward and it's like, well, this tragic event happened in their past. They were all best friends. What happened to them as they grew up? So we flash forward. They're all adults now. And it's the 3 kids are Kevin Bacon, Tim Robbins, and Sean Penn. And
Tim Robbins is a bit fucked up.
Yeah,
and
so
he's kind
Tim
of like
Robbins' character was the abused and sexually assaulted
kid. It fucked
him
up.
And he's now a blue-collar worker who is just traumatized by the events.
Yep.
Sean Penn grew up to become a career criminal.
Yes.
And he's like an ex-con who runs like a convenience store, but he still has threads, I guess.
He has like
community.
underground threads. Yeah. Because he can like get tough guys at like his beck and call.
He has just like goons that just show up whenever he needs. And Kevin Bacon's character grew up to become this like ace detective police officer.
Right.
And it's like the movie sets off and we're kind of following Tim Robbins and he goes for drinks at the bar. And we see Sean Penn hanging out at his convenience store, and his daughter is played by the actress in Shameless. She went on to become the leading protagonist of that show, Shameless. I can't remember her name. And his like teenage 17-year-old daughter, she's like, oh, I'm going to go out and hang out with my friends. And secretly, she's planning to run away from home with her like boyfriend, and they want to go to Vegas and try to make it big. And so for one last night out on the town, she goes out and parties with her friends, and she ends up at the same bar as Tim Robbins' character. And we cut away, and it turns out that like his daughter later in that evening was brutally murdered.
And the body
becomes a murder mystery.
And the body was dumped in like the park.
Yeah, the body's been like disposed of in the park. And so it's like horrible tragedy befalls this community, and it's like, who could have done this? And so now where it's supposed to be invested is like where this murder mystery. It's like, okay, fair enough. And obviously it sets up Tim Robbins as like a red herring. It's because it's like, he was at the bar and he's fucked up in the head. And it's like,
he's not right.
Actually, sorry. So he gets drunk at the bar the same night that she's murdered, and he comes home covered in blood. So then it's like, ooh, like, could he have murdered her? And he's like, I don't know what happened. Like, I don't know. I must have slipped and fell. And he keeps giving like weird answers
because he's awkward. And
his wife is questioning him. She's like, "What the fuck? Like, you came home covered in blood." And he's
what
like,
the fuck, Tim Robbins?
Yeah, Tim Robbins. And so that sets up the whole like thread there. Kevin Bacon is called in to investigate the murder, and he's like, "Oh shit, this is my friend's like daughter." And then we have the whole like dramatic scene where Sean Penn's like, is that my daughter over there? Is that my daughter? It's like,
you fucking tell me.
Yeah, it's like screaming and like so it
everything's
feels,
so overly dramatic.
It's so melodramatic.
Everything.
And like
everything. The entire movie is cranked. The drama is cranked up to like 12. I found it unbearable.
Clint Eastwood like unbearably cranks up the melodrama, and every scene is so torturously, laboriously like, oh,
it's almost like Shakespearean.
Like, yeah.
It almost feels Shakespearean, where it's just like everyone is so over the top in their emotions.
Sean Penn, I mean, obviously it's tragic.
Yeah, right.
But he's like, is that my daughter there? Like he has to get dragged
That's
away
the
from
infamous,
the crime scene. He's like, ah!
But here's the problem.
Like,
that performance in a movie where everybody else isn't acting like that,
everyone else is
works.
Like, yeah.
That's why that would have really punched you in the gut if it was allowed to breathe on its own. The problem is every other scene, characters are acting like that.
Yeah. And then we cut to like Kevin Bacon's character as the police detective, and his partner is Lawrence Fishburne, I believe. I think we can check that.
I'm not going to check.
Anyway, but it's so fucking ham-fisted because we just cut to him, and the movie's like 3 hours long, and it's trying to do so goddamn much all at once. And it's like Kevin Bacon's on the phone with his wife who's left, and she's like, you work too much and we have conflicts at home, and so she's like out of the picture. And he gets off this phone call, and like his partner comes up and he's like, "Hey, is that your estranged ex-wife that called you that you have problems with?" It's like exposition dumping. It's so on the nose. Like, it doesn't feel natural at all. He's like on a crime scene. Why would his partner be like, "Hey, was that phone call you just had like your ex, by any chance your ex-wife that you have obvious problems with that we should establish right now in the film's narrative?
Was that your son? Was that your homosexual son that you clearly have a strained background with, and you haven't talked to him for the last couple Christmases?
And maybe you should reach out to him." It's like, yeah, like we're just like giving me the plot. Yeah. Like you're just like, here's some plot. It's not
natural. Yeah, it's not.
Yeah, natural. It just feels like the character like at many times are like, "Hey, like plot. Did you ever consider that maybe this should be the plot that we're talking about?" Right. It's like, it just feels so forced. And he's like, "There's lots of other fish in the sea. Maybe you should get out there." And like Kevin Bacon's like, "Not me. Like, because my character secretly deep down loves his wife and would never leave her." It's like, this isn't anything. This is just like, you know what I'm trying to describe. It's like the characters have no nuance in that sense.
Yeah, the characters don't. They just feel like they're characters written for a plot. Like, they don't feel like real people.
Yeah.
I know what you mean.
And then so we go through the long...
They're bland. They're just bland. Yeah. I found everybody extremely bland in this movie.
Or
no
overacting.
one was engaging. No one interested me. I stopped watching. I checked out about 40 minutes. I was like, the plot's not interesting me. None of these characters are interesting me. I didn't like it at all.
This movie's very long.
Hook me at all.
It's very long. So... I'll spoil it for you. So what happens is, obviously, we have
I skipped ahead to the ending.
We have a long meandering...
I think Sean Penn tries to force a confession out of Tim Robbins and then ends up executing Tim Robbins, and then Tim Robbins was innocent.
Yes. Yeah. But again, how we get there is like...
So convoluted.
Like, well, there was a gun that might have been used in the crime, but the gun is traced to this guy that Sean Penn knew, and he might have murdered the father of that man who has the gun back in the 80s, and it's like... This is tied into his like criminal past, but also his son is mysterious, and it's like so much shit. And it's like, I don't know, if you're not invested and if it doesn't hook you and if it just feels so forced and so melodramatic and like, I don't know. And then, so we're led through all this different like investigation, but the end result is that yes, it turns out that Tim Robbins is in fact innocent. He had nothing to do with her murder. The reason he was covered in blood is because he was walking home from the bar and just so happened to witness another child like pedophile assaulting a child in front of him in a car, and he snaps because he flashes back to his own
traumatized.
past, and he's traumatized. So he viciously murders this man who is abusing this young boy, and then he goes home and is just like, "Oh, like I can't tell anybody about this." It's like he sets himself up by being like, "Oh, I can't ever talk about this." I get that he's traumatized.
It's so infuriating because you just want to strangle his character.
Yeah,
like, for the love of
his
God.
wife thinks he's a murderer.
Right.
All of his friends think he's a murderer.
It's like, for the love of God, just fucking tell us what happened.
Just fess up. Wouldn't it be better for your family if you just like talk to them?
Right.
But I guess it's like because he's a Boston blue collar guy and he's so
Dude, you
traumatized.
keep that shit to yourself.
Just bury that down.
Keep your feelings to yourself.
It's so like 2003, and it's like. I don't know. And so he basically goes to his death because he like is like so traumatized by it, but he won't like. And then
because Sean Penn turns on Tim Robbins,
thinks that Tim Robbins killed his daughter, which is also like, you really think that he would just because he had a fucked up past and was like abused?
Yeah, you
think that he would just randomly violently murder your daughter?
Who ends up being the murderer of the daughter? I forget.
This is completely insane too. So
it's like the boyfriend?
Yeah.
It was like, the boyfriend.
No, it was like, no, sorry. It wasn't the boyfriend. It wasn't anybody. Like it was.
I forget.
It was the son, the young son of the boyfriend, or sorry, the young brother of her boyfriend. So the boyfriend wants to leave with the daughter and escape to Vegas and go start their new exciting like young romance together. The boyfriend has a younger like brother who's like mute, I think, and his like dumb friends, they end up playing with a gun and accidentally shooting her in the street at night.
See, I didn't remember. I skipped ahead to the ending because I was like, how does this end?
So like it feels so ridiculous. And then she gets shot and she runs from the car and they freak out and don't know what to do. So they then like beat her to death with like hockey sticks and hide the body in the woods in like the park.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That makes no sense. I may even be misconstruing this, but it's so weird,
convoluted,
and there's so many different things happening that I was like, am I really expected to believe that like a 14-year-old boy? I get that accidents happen, so he shot, and then the bullet went into the car, and then she ran away.
Right.
But they say in the investigation that it's like, well, her body was bruised and beaten. And it's like, why would they follow her and like beat her to death, or then like why? I feel like if a kid made a mistake, he'd probably just run away.
Right.
He would, like, if you were like 12 or 13.
Yeah, you wouldn't be like, oh, well, in for a penny, in for a pound.
Yeah,
now I have to brutally murder her.
Yeah, I feel like if they accidentally misfired a gun and it hurts somebody, they would be like, oh no, we have to run away. And then like that's fine to be a mystery, but for them to be like, well, we already shot somebody, we might as well viciously beat them to death and brutally hide the body in a fucking park.
Yeah, why? Why would you do that?
Why? And like, it doesn't even really like...
The movie sucks.
Yeah,
the movie sucks. It's not. So, it's convoluted. It's boring. It's slow. None of the characters are fucking interesting.
What it's trying to do
everybody hams it up.
And it's trying to manufacture drama because it's like, oh, well, if they don't talk to each other, then it'll force this to happen. Or if everyone is just behaves irrationally, then it'll lead to this dramatic scene. So it all culminates in, it just gives Sean Penn an excuse to have a dramatic monologue and be like, you murdered my daughter, and like kill Tom, and like Tim Robbins gets to be like a martyr, where he's like, oh,
that scene is so stupid.
He's like, I didn't murder her, but I'll say that I murdered her to free his soul, and then like because in a way I'm so fucked up, I'd rather just die, and like
it's fucking like, stupid.
Yeah,
you know what this film isn't.
I want to finish. So
yeah, go for it.
This gets even more insane. So Sean Penn, fully believing that Robbins killed his daughter, murders Tim Robbins and throws his body in the Mystic River. And then the next day, so he gets drunk, and the next day he's like sitting on the stoop at his house, and Kevin Bacon drives up, and he's like, good news, we've solved the crime. It was actually the young brother made a mistake and ended up shooting her and attacking her or whatever. And Sean Penn is like, oh, and like realizes that he just murdered his friend. And Kevin Bacon's like, we haven't seen Tim Robbins' character in a while. Do you know where he went? And it's kind of implying that he knows. He knows without knowing that Sean Penn most likely murdered their friend. Yeah. And now it's like a cat and mouse. It's establishing that it's like now they're forever cat and mouse because Kevin Bacon will have to do his duty and hunt him down, and he's the criminal, and he will have to like run away and like or will have to fight him. And then the movie still keeps going. So it's like hours in. I'm like falling asleep because it's like, fuck, this is still going.
I'm
waiting for those credits to come. Then they're like, well, there's a local parade in town, so why don't we gather up all the families and we'll go down to the parade. And so Sean Penn goes back to his house, and his wife confronts him up in the bedroom, and she's like, what you did was right. You're a big, strong man, and you protect our family. And it becomes like a Game of Thrones scene where she's like, what we need is for you to step up and be the criminal kingpin of this whole city. You can do it, sweetie. And she like fucks him in the bed.
Okay.
And they have this weird, like scene where she's like, actually the whole time you were a criminal mastermind and we need you to return to that. And you're going to be the gang leader of all of Boston or some shit. I'm like, this movie is still going?
Yeah,
we needed this scene here?
Why are we still going?
It feels so insane. Yeah, it's like they dedicate like 5 fucking minutes to this after the murder's solved. Yeah. After all the
resolution,
happened.
the conflict is resolved, basically.
And then it ends with a scene where Kevin Bacon and Sean Penn are now sitting across from each other at the parade. Tim Robbins' wife is disgraced for some reason, I guess, because like they murdered her. Yeah. So, and she is now out of the family and stuff, and all the friends are like ignoring her. And then it just ends with a shot of like Sean Penn staring at Kevin Bacon across the street, and like Kevin Bacon goes.
Literally the ending of Death Wish?
Yes.
Literally the ending of fucking Death Wish.
Yes.
Oh my God. What the fuck are the odds? That's so weird.
And then the credits like finally roll.
Mercifully start playing. Yeah, the credits show up. That's so funny. So both end with like the That's so weird.
Yeah.
Wow. I guess that's kind of a cool thing to end in movies.
And then everyone's like, that was a masterpiece. That was one of the greatest films ever made.
And the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor goes to Tim Robbins.
Yeah. And it even has like, there's even that cliche thing where they're like, I just wonder sometimes, what if it was me that got in that car? Like, all my lives would have been different. It's like, sometimes I still think I'm in that basement.
Yeah, but I'm okay with.
That's
here's the thing. Here's the thing.
So like,
there's nothing wrong with that. The problem is you didn't like the movie, so that's why it doesn't get away with it. Because the thing is, I know you like that monologue from Vince Vaughn in True Detective season 2. That's incredible.
Sometimes I still think I'm in that basement.
Yeah, that's an incredible monologue. Right. The problem is you just didn't like the film that it was in, so it feels like fuck you. You didn't earn this.
Feels phony, I guess. Yeah.
No, fuck the movie. My biggest complaint about the movie is, you know what the movie isn't?
What?
Entertaining. It's not fun.
Yeah.
It's not fun. It's not fun to watch. It's so it's so dreary and just not entertaining or fun at all. Like, it's literally a movie made to win awards. It's crap.
Oh, and so Kevin Bacon's wife just randomly calls him at the very last 3 minutes of the movie, and she's like, I want to get back together. And he's like, me too, baby. Me too. And then it's like, so that was just like nothing.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, he's conflicted about his wife. And then she's like not in the movie.
Yeah.
We get like a shot of her lips on the phone, like part of her face. And then she just shows up at the end and she's like, I love you again.
Dude, fuck
what
Mystic
is that?
River. Fuck Mystic
what is that?
River.
That's nothing.
Fuck it. Was that Clint Eastwood's like first directorial movie?
I don't know. I think he might have directed Unforgiven.
Okay, but anyway,
fuck,
let's get off of
terrible.
Let's get off of Mystic River. I'm so glad I was so worried you were just gonna gush about it. I was gonna be like, I gotta listen to this.
Yeah.
Okay. My next pick. 1985, Cocoon. Cocoon.
You must have been on an 80s kick or something.
Well, I mean, all of my picks are all over the board.
Cocoon?
Cocoon, dude. Ron Howard.
Okay.
Ron Howard directed. This is one of his first directorial movies, I believe.
It's concerning that I've never heard of this movie.
You've never heard of Cocoon?
No.
Oh, no. I thought... Seriously?
Is this a famous movie?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Among science fiction films, this is very well known.
Oh, I've never heard of it.
Even among, like, just critically acclaimed films, Cocoon's well known.
Cocoon.
You've never heard of Cocoon?
Cocoon.
Yes. Yes. You're blowing my mind right now.
Right.
Yeah, not the other way around. Dude, Cocoon is very well known. Yeah. You've never even heard of it.
I think you just made this up.
Yeah, this isn't a real movie?
Yeah, this isn't a real movie.
No, okay, so Cocoon, I can't believe you didn't know what this is.
No.
As soon as I start talking about it, you're going to be like, I've heard this plot.
Okay.
So, basic premise is there's an ancient alien race that lives for tens of thousands of years. They're essentially immortal compared to us.
Okay. All right.
This is hard sci-fi. Hard sci-fi. They come down to Earth during the Atlantean times. Okay,
ancient Atlantis.
Yeah, so when Atlantis is a thing. Okay. Then the planet Atlantis gets destroyed, and the planet, the sea levels rise, and the aliens need to leave our world. So in a rush to leave our planet, they end up leaving a few of their own species in these cocoon pods. Okay.
Okay.
And the cocoon pods are now at the bottom of the ocean. And the alien race, so they're basically in hibernation mode, these aliens.
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay.
And the aliens are basically like, they're basically like an energy alien.
I was going to say, what do they look like?
They look just like an energy being. They're basically like a glowing outline of like an energy being.
Okay.
They have a cool design. So...
Like, I bring you peace and love.
Actually, kind of like that, yeah. Like Simpsons, the Mr. Burns, yeah.
Like a glowing...
Yeah, they're like a glowing figure. Yeah.
Okay.
So the aliens come back to Earth, and they assume the bodies of two people.
Are they friendly aliens?
Extremely friendly. Extremely friendly.
Okay.
So there's Brian Dennehy, that actor. Do you know who Brian Dennehy is?
I'd have to... I recognize the name.
He's the antagonistic sheriff in Rambo, the first movie.
Oh, shit. Okay.
That guy, yeah. Brian Dennehy.
Yeah.
He's a
awesome.
really good actor. Yeah,
Yeah.
very good character actor. So Brian Dennehy, he's actually not playing an asshole in this movie. He's playing the good guy.
That's surprising.
Yeah.
He's a very good asshole.
So he's playing one of the aliens. There's a male and a female. The female is just like, I don't know who the actress is, but it's just like a cute, like blonde woman or something. And
You said they assume the bodies?
So they wear like human skin form things.
They don't like possess someone.
No. They're wearing some sort of get up, but that's not their real body. Because at one point the female alien takes off her like skin suit and she's just like an energy form.
Okay.
So they end up contracting Steve Gutenberg, who is like a kind of a miserable, depressed guy that like owns a ship. He's kind of like a whatever, fuck everything kind of guy.
Yeah.
And they end up contracting him to help them retrieve these pods.
They want the cocoons from the bottom of the ocean.
They want the cocoons.
Okay.
And they're trying to do this all in secret. They're trying not to attract any attention because the Earth's population has no idea these aliens exist. So they end up, Brian Dennehy and the woman buy this like private property, and they have this huge swimming pool it's like a mansion or something.
Okay.
And they have this giant like Olympic swimming pool inside.
Where do they get the money to buy a house if they're just alien energy beings?
Dude, who knows? Like, I mean, they've been around for tens of thousands of years. Who fucking knows? They somehow maybe they won.
They gloss over that,
dude. Maybe they had investments since like they invested
Roman
in
stocks
times
early.
Like who knows? Who cares? They have unlimited resources. That's not a thing. So they have unlimited resources. This alien race. So they get the cocoons and they put them in this swimming pool, and they charge the swimming pool with this life force to try to awaken the creatures in the cocoons, the alien creatures, so that they may return to their homeworld. Because the journey to the homeworld is like very taxing. So they have to give them enough energy so that they can actually come back.
Okay.
Because otherwise they won't survive the journey back. They're in like a fragile state.
Are they like traveling in a spaceship, or are they just like sort of teleporting?
They have a spaceship. Yeah,
okay.
They have a spaceship.
But
you don't really see it. You don't really see it, but it exists.
But they need enough energy to make that journey.
The other creatures do. The hibernating creatures need enough energy to survive the trip home because they've been in like cold storage basically this entire time.
Okay.
So otherwise they won't survive the journey.
So this is a peaceful rescue mission for the aliens, but for the perception of the humans, how do they...
So this is where the conflict gets in.
Okay.
So beside the mansion place, this private private like property, is an old folks home. And in the old folks home, there's like these, I think it's four. It's like these four old timers and their wives. And they're kind of like, one of them is Wilford Brimley. And I forgot who the other two actors are, but they're all actual legit old timey actors. Like all the actors in this movie were like in their late 60s, 70s.
Like Charles Durning.
Like legit, like a Charles Durning, exactly. So you said that to fuck with me, but the funny is the viewers don't know who the fuck Charles Durning is. I mean, look up Charles Durning.
Charles Durning.
We're not getting
Academy Award winner.
We're not getting into a side. I know what you want to turn this. We're not turning this into that subplot. We'll talk about whatever that movie was called another time. I know what you want. We're not doing it.
Okay.
So they're all like old timey actors, and they're all like, in their later golden years, whatever you want to call it. And they have been sneaking into this private property to swim in the pool. So they've always been doing this. But coincidentally now, the aliens have put these cocoons in the pool and charged it with positive like life force.
So it's de-aging?
So it's slowly de-aging them.
Oh, that's cool.
And it takes them a while to realize what's happening. But so they see the cocoons. They're like, oh, these are some sort of weird like pool cleaning things or something. Like they think it's some decorations. They're like, why because they just look like giant rocks.
Yeah.
They're like, why did someone put these giant rocks in here? Who cares? We don't want to get caught,
Yeah.
And they're swimming in the pool. And the consequence of swimming in this alien like life force is it slowly de-ages us. And what ends up happening is slowly they begin to realize that this pool has some sort of properties that are special, and they bring their wives over as well, and it starts again de-aging them, and they start getting this youthful energy they never had.
Yep.
And it's throwing everybody off at the retirement home. Like, what's going on with them? Like, where are they getting this energy all of a sudden? They go out dancing with their wives, and it's very very cute. It's very cute. There's a lot of cute scenes in this movie. So like they go out to like
they have like a new lease on life.
Yeah, basically. They have a new lease on life. They go to like a modern nightclub, but like they're like 60 and 70-year-old people, and they're like dancing. It's nice. There's like a lot of cute moments, and the aliens and them end up discovering each other. So they get caught, but they also realize they're aliens. No, the exact opposite. The aliens are basically just like, you're getting a positive benefit of this. Like, look, we want to be peaceful. This is why we're doing this. Please don't tell anyone about what you're seeing. As long as you keep this a secret, we will allow you to keep coming here.
Okay.
And then what ends up happening is it gets revealed through conflict at the retirement home that there's this secret energy pool that you got to swim in. The entirety of the retirees swarm the pool, and try to steal and they end up actually draining the pool of all of its essence. And one of the alien creatures actually ends up getting killed in the cocoon because of this. This is tragic moment.
That's a great conflict to have. Yeah.
Yeah. And
so
then
the humans have ruined it basically.
The humans ruin it basically.
Our folly.
We want it. We crave what they have, which is eternal youth. Yeah. Essentially, they're basically immortal.
The humans become greedy and then ruin a good thing.
And they ruin a good thing. Yeah. And the climax of the movie is Brian Dennehy's alien gives them the option to come with them. He only gives the option to the original people who came to the pool. He bans everybody else. They leave. It's this big conflict. The government actually gets involved now, and now all of a sudden they have to leave now.
Yeah,
Their timeline gets turned into this is now ruined. We have to leave. But he forgives the original people. They apologize. There's actually a very powerful scene which I won't ruin, but there's a very I'll just say it. One of the guy's wives dies, and it's like this. It's heart wrenching where he like brings her to the pool, hoping that he can they can bring her back, and unfortunately the pool doesn't. They can't do that.
Yeah.
So they can't bring somebody back to life, and also the energy's been drained anyways. So there's literally nothing they can do. It's a very heart-wrenching scene.
Yeah, that seems powerful. Yeah.
And so they give the option to the original old...
It seems very, beautiful in a way.
This is a very... So, how Ron Howard got the... as a lot of people... he got the... I don't know the way to describe this, but people think of Ron Howard as a sappy director.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is the beginnings of that. So this is very much a heartwarming, heart-wrenching, whatever you want to call it, very soft, dramatic movie. It is. Yeah. It is not a. It's not like a action sci-fi. It's nothing like that. It is very much. What's the word I'm looking for? You know the genre I'm describing.
I know what you're saying.
Thoughtful. It's very thoughtful and more slower paced.
So anyway, what happens then?
So they give the option to the humans, the original guys that discovered the pool.
We're leaving right now.
You can come with us.
Okay.
You can come with us, and you will live for essentially forever. Essentially, compared to what your human concept of what that is, because they live for tens of thousands of years or something. And
it's insane. Yeah.
And some of them decide to stay, and some of them decide to leave. Most of them decide to leave, and and then that's how it ends. And then they there's a little bit of a chase from the authorities, but then they leave. Yeah. It's not an amazing movie. I like the concept. My problem is the acting is incredible. I'm going to give everybody props. The old-timey actors in this movie, both the men and the women are incredible. Mm-hmm. They deliver fantastic performances. It's very believable. There's no hokey shit. The dialogue's really good. I like the premise. The premise is a nice it's a different type of sci-fi. I'm used to sci-fi action, which I think most people are.
Yeah, yeah.
Or sci-fi thriller or sci-fi horror. This is different. It's sci-fi drama, and I like that. It's got a very soft feel to it.
It sounds similar to what's that one that Carpenter did with the guy
Starman?
Yeah.
It's very similar kind of vibe to that. Yeah,
a heartwarming.
Yes, very similar tone to that movie. Absolutely. That's a good comparison. My problem with it is, it does a lot right. It's a solid 7 out of 10. My issue is I wanted more of the philosophical debate. And they don't really give you enough of that. It's it's there, but it's not quite there. It's if you could live forever, would you do it?
Oh,
and,
yeah. They
you know,
don't. They
the
don't have,
pros and cons of living for so long. They don't really get into it.
it sounds like they don't have time to, because it's like, we have to leave now.
They don't really get into that enough.
That's
and I
like
wish that they had more of that, because it's like that's one of the biggest things of humans. What makes us human is we can see our own mortality.
Yes.
That's what separates us from like all other creatures. So like that is to be human at your core. You are mortal, you have mortality, and you can see and feel that, and you age. You know, we age and we die. And that is the core of the human condition that we exist in.
Their offer to the humans of being like, you can come with us or you can stay. And the offer of being like, if you come with us, you'll be functionally immortal. That's like more of like, it's a blessing, but it could also be interpreted as a curse.
Right. And they don't really get into that.
You're going to go to far off, unseen planets and galaxies and then just live forever. It's like that is not necessarily a good thing. That's
right.
Like, so you know what I mean, in the context of being human.
So I will give the movie credit in that I like the idea of old people suddenly getting a second chance at life and having like a young, youthful body in a sense. In a sense,
do they de-age the actors?
No, they don't do that. No, they don't do that. It's more like it's their bodies. They have more like strength, and they have like, so it's basically like they still look like themselves, but they have like the energy and strength of like their 20s,
rejuvenated.
Yeah,
kind of
they have exactly. That's a better word. They're rejuvenated to like the energy of like their 20-year-old selves.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
I just would say it took more time to get into the philosophy of it and what that means. And like, because I love things that are like portraits of the human condition and analysis that talk about like death and the meaning of life and what it means to age. And, you know, is that necessary? Do we have to age? You know, if we didn't age, what would that be like? I wish they got more into it. I wish it got a little bit more, I wish it was a little less sappy and got a little bit more like dialogue-y.
Yeah.
You know, where characters really have hard dialogue talking about the pros and cons of this. And it doesn't do that. But it's good. I do recommend it. And I'm shocked you've never heard of it.
I had never heard of it.
Yeah. It's not like, were you expecting when I said Cocoon to be like some like schlocky, like.
I was expecting like Alligator.
Yeah.
Like I was expecting like some schlocky, like the cocoon explodes open and there's like a
giant
monster
moth comes out. There's an alien moth and then no.
I was expecting that.
It's an energy moth. Yeah.
Now let me ask you this. What about Cocoon 2?
Cocoon 2, The Return.
The mutation.
I've never seen. No, there is a Cocoon 2.
Oh, there actually is a Cocoon 2.
Yeah, look, Cocoon, The Return. Yeah. So I've actually never seen this movie. Apparently, it's pretty ass. Like it's notoriously like not a good sequel.
So, yeah, but that's fascinating.
I had no interest to watch it.
What the fuck would it be? Would it be the people returning from like 10,000 years from being like immortals and they return to Earth or something?
No, because what ends up happening is so the cocoons can't survive the trip back home, so they end up having to put them back into the ocean. So the return is they come back 5 years later to try again.
Okay.
Yeah. But it gets more.
That kind of undercuts the movie.
But it gets more complicated because these researchers find one of the cocoons.
Okay.
It becomes more of like an ET, like government versus alien shit from what I read.
Well, that also begs the question of like, if you could just try again a couple years later, that kind of undercuts the aliens' conflict.
I agree.
Their whole thing is like, we have a dire mission to save our species and we have to rescue these energy beings.
But to be clear, we can do this at any time.
But also, we could just try again in a week from now.
Right. That's what it's like. Yeah. No, I agree with you 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think Ron Howard had anything to do with the sequel either. But,
okay.
Yeah. Cocoon: The Return. Yeah. There you go. There was a sequel, but yeah, Cocoon's solid. It's good.
Cool.
It's a good time.
I might actually check it out.
Yeah, I would probably give it a try. Yeah. I got like one or two left on my list, depending on how many you got left. What do you got left? We're at the just over 3 hour plus mark here.
Yeah.
So I don't want to give 10 million picks. What do you got? Do you have one left?
I don't know. I have one left.
Why don't we do your last one and we'll call it, and I'll save my other one.
Okay. Well, we can. I'll let you know what it is. It's November now, so this Halloween, my wife and I, we happened to watch one of the Friday the 13th movies.
Oh, well,
but you already
I just did a 4 hour. Yeah.
So I don't give a shit about Friday the 13th.
Yep.
So this will be quick. I watched the 2009 one.
The remake, the soulless remake.
Yes,
yeah. Why would you watch that?
We watched it because
was this after you had listened to Mark on my podcast?
No, we just happened to. Because
I was like, we guided you to the good ones, and you chose to go for a mid.
No, we watched the best one. It's pretty bad. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just soulless. It doesn't do. It's insultingly mediocre. You know what? I'm going to shut up because I've already talked about.
You've already talked about it. If you want to hear a huge discussion about it, there's the other video. All I'll say is we only watched it because it just happened to be there. And it has Dean from Gilmore Girls, which we thought was funny.
Yeah,
and that's about it. It has, I will say, the sleeping bag kill is heinous and was like,
it has great kills.
That was pretty good, but other than that, it's just like I thought it was odd that they would have Jason have a hostage because the whole
they try to change the formula.
Yeah, the whole conflict was like he took his sister captive. It's like that doesn't feel like he would do that. Like. He goes around murdering everyone. Why would he arbitrarily pick her?
No, it's because she looks like his mom.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah, you didn't catch that?
I don't know if I picked up on that.
Yeah, she looks like his mom.
Okay, or am I just forgotten?
He gets confused, yeah.
Anyway.
They set that up in the very beginning because they find the locket with Jason's picture of Jason's mom, and the guy is like, the boyfriend's like, this looks just like you. They set that up. Okay. Yeah, so he looks like Jason's mom. Yeah, and at one point, Jason's holding the locket and looking at her because he's confused.
Yeah. Okay.
It's not good.
It's not good.
Yeah.
That was basically it.
You started off with and the series gets way worse than that, but it also gets way better than that. So you went for like a very mid pick.
Yeah.
I don't know where that one ended up on our list, but I think it ended up at like out of 12. I think we both put it at like 7. Like it was not high. Yeah.
All right.
That's all there is to say to that. Yeah. I'm gonna do one more that I hope you're gonna shit on as much as I. Did you watch that? As much as I'm about to shit on it, did you watch Glass Onion?
I watched like 20 minutes of it.
Oh, it's awful. Yeah, it's awful, right? Yeah, it's not good. So, Glass Onion.
Well, it's very popular.
Let's say. Hold on a sec. Let's read the whole title. Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery. Rolls right off the tongue. What a fucking... Let's just... Before we even get in the movie, what a fucking stupid title. I remember when I saw that, I was like, how dumb do studios think we are? That like, what is going on with the names and movies? Like, you could have just called it Glass Onion. Like, people aren't that fucking dumb that they're not going to be able to put together like, oh, this... blows my mind.
I guess they didn't have faith that the audience would know that it's a sequel to Knives Out.
It's just, it angers me so much now. These fucking stupid fucking names that studios come up with because they're like, people are dumb. They're not going to know this is connected to that. No one's going to read and go, oh, okay. No one will be able to figure it out from the fucking trailer and the fact that Daniel Craig is playing the same character named, what is his name in the movie? Benoit Blanc.
Yeah,
it's like no one could possibly. I mean, for fuck's sakes, why aren't the market? Here's what I don't understand. Why don't you just call it Glass Onion, and then it's up to the marketing team to inform you that it's a sequel?
Yeah.
I mean, literally, you could have right at the beginning of the trailer a sequel to Knives Out. Benoit Blanc returns. The tagline of the fucking movie could be Benoit Blanc returns. Here's an alternate title: Glass Onion, a Benoit Blanc mystery.
Yeah.
Like, Knives Out was not made in the hopes of like, I don't believe when he made Knives Out.
Like a franchise of like Knives Out 4.
Right. I don't think when he made Knives Out, he's going to be like, Knives Out is now the branching point for everything else. Like, he created a cool one-off movie. It was a one-off little, fun little murder mystery movie.
I really liked Knives Out, the first one.
And I didn't.
Fantastic.
We talked about this.
Okay. Yeah.
And what drives me fucking nuts is the fact that they're like a Knives Out mystery. But that implies that Knives Out is the central naming mechanism in the series. Knives Out? So now so you're telling me the next movie is now also going to be a Knives Out mystery?
Yeah, that doesn't really make sense.
It doesn't make any fucking sense. It's such a weird naming convention. What were they fucking thinking?
Well, it's like a good comparison. So Benoit Blanc is a detective. He solves mysteries.
Right.
But it's like when Sir Arthur Conan Doyle wrote Sherlock Holmes, he didn't, like, he wrote like A Study in Scarlet or something like that. Like, one of the titles was like A Study in Scarlet, and it was one of the mysteries of Sherlock Holmes. But it's not like A Study in Scarlet mystery featuring Sherlock Holmes, Glass Onion. It's like, it's a weird, it's like, you don't have to name it like.
This is what the equivalent is. Imagine Sherlock Holmes is like, so, I don't know, the butcher on Baker Street, okay?
Yeah.
Let's say the first story was the butcher on Baker Street featuring Sherlock Holmes. Imagine the sequel is like Murderer at Wimbledon, a butcher at Baker Street mystery. See how that makes no sense? Yeah. You're naming part of your second movie based on the title of the first movie. That doesn't make, it's so fucking weird.
So it bothers you.
That is of all the dumb things they do, because they do so much fucking stupid things with titles now, where they refuse to number movies anymore. Nope, it's not Scream 5, it's Scream.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden, it's Scream 6. So why didn't you just call it Scream 5?
This has been a problem for years now.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, no, it's not Halloween, whatever it would have been, 10. It's Halloween. But then it's Halloween Kills.
Yeah.
But then what? So you're telling me the franchise goes Halloween, Halloween, Halloween Kills?
Well, it must be
so fucking stupid.
It must be a marketing thing that they've researched where they see that there's diminishing returns. Like maybe people looking and they go,
and what I'm saying is, I don't care.
I don't want to go
number
see Halloween.
your fucking movies.
Yeah. But think about it.
It makes it so confusing though when you're trying to look it up.
To play devil's advocate.
So dumb. No, there's no defense. There's no defending this.
No.
People aren't that fucking stupid. They already know what they're signing up for. The fucking movie's called Halloween. Jamie Lee Curtis in the movie. They already know this has to somehow be a sequel to the original.
That's
it's
true.
not a fucking remake. It's not a remake. But see,
I think they're just saying it's like there's diminishing returns where like the average person on the street is going to go, oh, Halloween 8. I don't really want to watch that because I haven't seen the other 7 in a while. And it's like, maybe it's confusing. I may not know what's going on or something. And they're like, oh, it seems like a commitment. It seems like more of a commitment
right.
to walk up to like a poster and see like such and such 9.
Sure.
It's like,
then let me,
that's a lot.
Then let me offer you an alternative. Subtitle the movie with something like Halloween Reborn or Halloween whatever. Subtitle. It's a good alternative to a number. But you know what you don't do? Just use the title you've already used. You don't do that. Because now in that series, there's Halloween, Halloween, Halloween. There's 3 movies in that franchise that are just called Halloween.
That's pretty ridiculous.
That's fucking...
There's 3?
There's Halloween, there's the Rob Zombie Halloween, and now there's the new Halloween.
Is it actually called Halloween, the newest?
Yeah, 2018. It's just called Halloween.
Oh my God, okay.
Yeah. Dumb.
I thought they were called like Halloween Kills or something.
That's the sequel to that one. Okay. Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends. But the first one should have been Halloween Reborn or something.
They literally just called it Halloween.
Even though it's a sequel.
That's a huge,
Makes no...
That's a huge problem.
It's you might even say it's as dumb as calling your movie Glass Onion a Knives Out mystery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know what this is similar to? Is like...
these fucking dumb names. I can't handle it anymore. I can't do it.
It's like First Blood, right? Like you've got... The first movie was called First Blood.
Yeah, and then it's the second one is called Rambo First Blood Part 2.
There you go.
And then the third one was called...
They are doing that.
Then the third one was called Rambo 3.
And then eventually they just called it Rambo.
Then the fourth one's just called Rambo, and then the fifth one's called Rambo Last Blood. The Rambo franchise might be the worst named franchise of all time because they couldn't decide at any point if they wanted to go for numbers, sequels, or just different titles. And so they did all. So they just did them all. Which is not that you don't do that. Stop fucking just calling your new movie unless it's a cold remake. So you just said Friday the 13th, right?
Yep.
What is that movie called? The one you just watched?
Friday the 13th.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's a remake. So it actually justifies just being called that.
Well, wouldn't Halloween justify it?
No, because it's not a remake. It's a sequel.
Not?
It's a sequel to the original. So that's why I said in that timeline, it goes Halloween, Halloween, Halloween Kills, Halloween Ends.
So you're saying if it is a true remake,
like the Rob Zombie one,
it's allowed to just
absolutely
be the same,
right? Because it is just a remake, right? Like even though, like The Fly is a good example, right? Like The Fly, there's the Vincent Price one, then there's the new one, The Fly. That's totally fine. Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Invasion of the Body Snatchers
had a remake, right? Has several remakes now. That's the only acceptable time you can use the original title.
Yeah.
After the original title has been used, you have to name your movie something else. If it's a fucking legacy sequel, so Scream did this. The original movie. So listen to the Scream series.
Scream 2,
Scream 3.
Let's see if I can name them. Is it Scream 4?
Scream 4, yeah.
Scream 5?
Nope, Scream.
Scream.
Just Scream.
And what's the new one that's
Scream 6.
You're kidding.
Nope.
So it went Scream 2, 3, 4, Scream 6.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
What the fuck? Exactly. Because they were like, no, people are dumb. They're exactly what you just said. They're like, if we call it Scream 5, it's been too long. People will be like, they'll be worried. They're not going to know what's going on, even though these movies are just fucking nothing plots anyways.
Yeah.
They're just dumb slasher flicks. So like, we got to call it Scream. Even though it's not a remake, it's a legacy sequel. We're just going to call... Guys, don't call it Scream. Why don't you just call it like Scream Awakening, Scream whatever.
Reborn.
Subtitle it.
Whatever.
But don't just use the original title. That doesn't make any sense. Like, it angers me so much.
They totally missed out on the Alien. Scream 2 should have been Screams. $.
You know what? Like, no. This is going to be the end of the episode. We're not even going to ever get into... I don't even want to talk about Glass Onions.
Yeah.
Let's just make this...
Okay,
Glass Onions, I thought it sucked.
I checked out after 20 minutes because I don't care about any of the characters.
The characters were all obnoxious. They're all obnoxious, not likable.
If I don't care if they die...
Do you like Benoit Blanc?
I do. I like Benoit Blanc.
I like Benoit Blanc. I would like to see him in a smarter film.
Yeah.
The first movie was pretty serious.
I really enjoyed it.
But it had comedic bits to it. This is if the first movie is Thor Ragnarok, this is Thor Love and Thunder, where they cranked up the comedic bullshit so much that it becomes a wacky romp with Benoit Blanc just forced to be a part of it.
Along for the ride.
But also they made Benoit Blanc a little too goofy in this movie too.
Yeah.
He's more interesting in the first movie. They made him a little too goofy in this.
I didn't purposely turn it off, but like I watched like a half hour and then I had to go do something and I was like, I don't really care to return to it. Yeah. So I just never did.
So anyway. Fuck this movie. Fuck Glass Onion. I know it was hugely popular. I didn't like it at all. I didn't think it was enjoyable. I watched the whole thing. It's not a great resolution. It's just whatever. Yeah. They spent $1 billion on it. It made $1 billion, whatever. Now let's talk about naming in Hollywood. No, this is actually what I want to talk about. I literally want to. This is way more interesting than this.
Yeah.
If you're going to make a legacy sequel, you cannot use the original title. This is rule number 1. You can't use the original title again. If it's a remake, that is the only time it is acceptable to use the original title in the series.
Okay.
I also have no problem. So let's talk about numbers. I like numbers. Number your movies. I don't care if it's fucking, I'm going to give, well, hold on. I was about to credit something, but then I realized, no, they fucked up too. So I was about to credit Fast and Furious because they started just numbering them, but then I realized, no, they're actual assholes.
Became madness too.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Like, they also did the shit where they just kept changing the titles around. So Friday the 13th, they just number the fucking movies, and then the ones where they didn't number them, they were subtitled. Say what you will about that franchise, but the number system was extremely consistent. You got Friday the 13th, then you got Part 2, Part 3, Part 4, The Final Chapter, which is also just called Friday the 13th, The Final Chapter. Fine, again.
Fair enough.
Fine. Then you got Part 5, New Beginning. Part 6, Jason Lives. Part 7, New Blood. Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan. Then you got Jason Goes to Hell. Again, subtitled.
Fair
totally
enough.
fine.
Yeah.
Jason X, which is Jason 10. Are you kidding me? Like, Friday the 13th can get it right, but like a new movie franchise that has like $1 billion budget from Netflix can't? Like,
what's your opinion on Planet of the Apes? That's an interesting one because there's a million of them, but they all have like
Beneath,
different names,
War for.
Yeah, like Beneath the Planet of the Apes,
War for the Planet of the Apes,
like something else.
Dream of Planet of the Apes. No, it's not that one. Debate about Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, but now they're getting like the newest one coming out is like
here's the question.
Okay,
what do you prefer? Do you prefer numbers or do you prefer subtitles or do you prefer completely different titles? Because that's an example where the titles are actually completely different. Those aren't subtitled. I say the gold standard is just number them.
I would lean towards try to have slightly different variations of the name, but
so you like Predator, Predators,
yeah,
Predator, the Predator. See, I don't.
Yeah.
I think that gets. See, the problem is by the time you get to the fourth,
well, it depends on how big the franchise is.
You get diminishing returns. By the time you get to the fourth, the names start sounding stupid and convoluted.
Yeah. So I guess the ultimate solution is if it goes on long enough, it should probably just be numbers. I say
number them from the beginning. If you don't want to number them, subtitle them. But pick one or the other. You can mix and match. I don't mind. Like, again, like Scream. I get it. It had been like 15 years or whatever, 10 years between 4 and 5. They didn't want to go with the hard 5. I get it because they thought it would intimidate people. Final Destination did the same thing. The last one was, so the fourth one was called, talk about dumb names. Final Destination 2, Final Destination 3.
Yeah.
Guess what the fourth one's called?
Final Destination?
The Final Destination.
Oh, the.
They added the
Final Destination. Okay.
Do you know how annoying it is when you try to search that movie? Very
that's
annoying.
the other thing. Like with modern search engines,
this is important.
Yeah.
Because now you have to have that because otherwise you don't get the right results.
Or you see people just add the year. That's another thing.
Yeah.
When they talk about it online.
When they talk about Halloween, they talk about 2018. That's how I refer to it as.
Halloween, like 2018.
Yeah, the 2009 Friday the 13th.
2009 Friday the 13th. Yeah.
I like numbers or subtitles, and I don't mind if you mix and match. But to me, the gold standard is numbers and subtitles.
Planet of the Apes fucked up too in a way because they had the Tim Burton one, which I think was just called Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, but that was a remake.
Oh, it was a remake. So that gets a pass.
Remakes get passes.
Okay.
Yeah, remakes get passes. Because then that is technically starting its own new line, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's use what you just said. So the Planet of the Apes series. That's proposing what you like, which is variations on the name.
Yeah.
They
think start to get a little...
They get convoluted.
Long in the tooth.
Yes. They become not easy to say.
Yeah.
And interestingly, the new series, which is what you're referring to, they use that naming convention.
Yeah, they went with like Rise of the Planet
War
of the Apes.
for the Planet of the Apes.
War for the Planets of the Apes.
It starts to be a mouthful. Yeah, it starts to be a mouthful. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. The what's the other fucking franchise I'm thinking of? Well, let's use Fast and Furious here for a second.
Okay.
So Fast and Furious did what you were saying originally.
But they did like the Too Fast, Too Furious.
Okay, so original movie is called
Fast and Furious.
Fast and the Furious.
The Fast and...
No. Hold on a sec. I got to confirm this, but...
Fast and the Furious?
So this is where it gets confusing, and I always forget this. The first one and the fourth one almost share the same title. Yeah, okay, sorry. The original, 2001, The Fast and the Furious.
Okay.
Okay? Second movie, Too Fast, Too Furious.
Fair enough.
Fine.
Okay.
Third movie, Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift.
Tokyo Drift.
It's fine. Subtitle. The fourth movie, Fast and Furious. That's what the fourth movie's called.
Ugh. So did they just remove the?
And
they made an ampersand.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Fast and Furious. They removed the two thes and shortened the and to an ampersand. Fast and Furious.
That's 4.
That's 4.
What did they do with 5?
Fast 5.
Just Fast 5.
Fast 5.
Okay.
No, it's not done. Fast and Furious 6.
Back to the ampersand.
Back to the Fast and Furious
6. Okay.
The seventh movie, Furious 7. Now we've dropped the Fast.
So now instead of Fast, it's just Furious.
Furious 7.
So they're not fast in that movie.
They're just furious.
They don't actually go fast.
No, the entire movie. They're
just upset.
It's like 12 Angry Men. It's just a bunch of guys
in a room
debating if a guy's guilty or not. Okay, and then the eighth movie,
The Fate of the Furious.
The Fate of the Furious.
That's interesting.
And then the
F9.
The Fast Saga.
The Fast
So
Saga.
forget what I was about to give them credit, and I don't know what I was thinking because I hadn't thought of these titles in a while. And then the newest one,
Fast X.
Fast X.
I know that. Yeah.
Yeah. Convoluted, awful, no consistency. This is dog shit. This is how you do not name movies. You do not name your franchise like this. They immediately fucked up with Fast and Furious because that's way too similar to The Fast and the Furious.
Yeah.
It's too similar. Just like Final Destination was The Final Destination. Fuck you. And guess what the next movie was called?
What?
Final Destination 5. So why even do it?
God damn it.
Yeah.
What are we doing here?
Saw.
Okay.
Original
Saw 2.
3, 4, 5.
There's like a million.
All the way up until Saw Final Chapter, which I think is like 6, which was also called Saw 3D.
Okay.
But then they changed it, and then it was Saw. They after Final Chapter or Saw 3D, it was Jigsaw. Jigsaw. They named it Jigsaw.
Okay.
Yeah, and then
wasn't there like a spinoff one?
Glad you asked. You want to talk about stupid fucking names of movies?
Oh, that's
the
a
Chris
Saw
Rock,
movie?
The Chris Rock movie.
That's a Saw movie?
Spiral from the Book of Saw. The book. What does that mean? The book. It's not based on the Book of Saw?
Is Saw based on a
that?
book?
It might be, but I'm pretty sure this is based on the movies, not the fucking book series.
I've seen that image, like that poster.
Yeah, you didn't know
Chris
that
Rock?
this was a...
I thought it was just like a thriller. I didn't know. I actually never noticed that it was...
You would think this was a Saturday Night Live, gag. It's so stupid. But apparently Chris Rock was a huge fan of the Saw movies, and he really wanted to do this role. It's not comedic. It's him playing a serious character.
It's very serious.
I've never seen it. I don't want to see it. I don't fucking care to see it. Yeah. But see, here's where it gets really confusing. So
does this have sequels?
See, now do you see why we had to talk about this? Because there's so much to talk about bad names of sequels.
Yeah.
When you get down to it, what we're referring to is the names of sequels is specifically it. Okay, so hold on a sec. I'll bring this up. Let me just bring up the Saw list of movies. Yeah, here we go. This is what I wanted. Okay, yes.
Okay.
So I was wrong. Sorry. The 8th movie was called... No, 7th movie? Did I say this? I think I said the 6th.
So Saw 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7th. The 7th is...
Final Chapter,
3D.
a.k.a. Saw 3D. Nothing wrong with that. Jigsaw, fine. I'm okay with that. Spiral from the Book of Saw. It's fucking stupid. Doesn't make any sense.
Saw X.
Saw X, which implies what?
That implies that the other two are in fact in that franchise and not spin-offs, and that they should be named... They should be numbered.
Correct. That's what you would think. You would think the one before it is
well,
what
it's also,
preceded it.
If you're searching quickly, be like, wait, am I missing? Did I not see Saw
8 and 9?
8 and 9?
Yeah,
But
so here's where it gets really confusing. So Saw X, right? This is an
Shouldn't
example.
X just be called Saw 8?
Okay, so here's where it gets funny is, how I was just bitching, being like, just number them.
Yeah.
This is an example where they shouldn't have numbered them because it actually doesn't make any sense. So Saw X, what does that imply?
The 10th Saw movie?
10th entry, right.
Okay.
So if it's the 10th entry in the series, where do you think it ranks in the timeline? You've never seen this, but...
I have not seen any of the Saw movies.
Okay, so let's use Jason X. Jason X. Where do you think Jason X ranks in the timeline?
Pretty far.
Right.
I mean, yeah.
Because it was the 10th movie.
Killing people for 10 movies. Yeah.
Right. So where do you think Saw X exists in the timeline?
I'm just guessing based on your setup.
No, you have to actually, think like a dum-dum.
It would be the most recent one. Yeah.
Right. No,
in the timeline.
It takes place between 2 and 3.
Oh, even worse than I was predicting. I was predicting, based on your setup, that it'd be a prequel before.
It is
the
a prequel,
Saw.
but it's a prequel during an in-between portion of the movies.
That's bizarre.
Yeah, right. Why are you calling it Saw X? Okay, yeah, it's the 10th movie, but not canonically. Canonically, it's not the 10th movie at all. It's a weird prequel that exists
they could call
in between.
It Saw 2.5.
Why not just call it Saw something? Saw subtitle. Saw Awakening or
because
whatever.
Fuck you, that's why.
Right. This is an example where they shouldn't have used the number, but they did anyways. All of this is to say, and I could keep going because I know so many franchises that fuck with the titles. All of this is to say, be consistent. The best thing to do is go number your sequels and or use subtitles. The worst things to do is use stupid fucking subtitles that don't make any sense, like Book of Saw or fucking a Knives Out mystery. Unnecessary subtitling can fuck right off, and you only get away with using the original name of the series if you're beginning a new series and it is in fact a remake, a clean break. That's the end of my rant. Do you agree with what I just said?
I agree. I agree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you prefer though?
I think that
now
there's
you heard
a
what I
secret
prefer.
cabal of businessmen in Hollywood that have done this just to annoy you. Is what I
mean.
think.
It's not just me. You're annoying a lot of people, and you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Yeah, these are These are lizard people.
Yeah, they're like, how can we name this just to piss off Justin Ashley?
And they exist in cocoons and they live for tens of thousands of years. Yeah. So what to me seems like a life of an entire lifetime of torment to them is just like a blip.
Yeah.
So they're more than willing to dedicate this time to fuck with me with the titles.
Yeah, the entirety of like human civilization.
Well, it's just one of these things where it's like every time I think I've heard the dumbest title,
something else comes out. And it's not just me. Like studios need to start giving some respect to the audience. Yeah, most people are fucking dumb and the only taste they have is in their mouth. I agree with that. That notion, I 100% am agreeing on that. But what I don't agree with is like give people a fucking like some credit. Like people will figure out what the movie is and they'll decide if they want to watch it or not. Stop trying to trick them, making them think it's a new thing when it's not. Stop trying to psychologically manipulate people to watch your fucking movie by like attaching something else to it where it's like, oh, it's called Spiral, but don't worry, it's from Saw. Don't worry. Like, stop doing that. Have some fucking faith in your audience. God. It's weird to call it like Scream 6, but it's like we're just gonna call it Scream, or what was it?
Scream 5.
Scream 5. It's just Scream. Like that might draw people in because they're like, oh, it's like I don't need to know, but then you're tricking them.
You're tricking them
because it is in fact the fifth movie of a full franchise.
100%.
So when you go in or watch it, you're tricked because you're like, oh, I thought this was just like a fresh start or something.
Same thing with Halloween. You're tricking people because when you call it Halloween, they expect it's a remake, but it's not a remake.
It in fact has all the baggage of an entire franchise of like 30 years of movies behind it. So it's actually not a jumping on point in a sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're tricking people. I can't think of any like Planet of the Apes is a good example where they just all the sequels riffed on the original title.
Yeah.
I can't think of any off the top of my head where each movie and each entry in the series was just a different title altogether. I can't think of any.
I was trying to think of one.
Yeah, like ones where each one is just a unique name.
Totally unique name.
Yeah. Okay, I got one. The Hustler and Color of Money.
There's a good, yeah. There you go.
Yeah. They didn't call it The Color of Money, a Hustler side story.
Yeah,
like,
a hustler
from the book of Hustler, like from the filthy magazine of Hustler. They didn't call it that. You know what I mean? That's a good example though, where they're completely different title movies.
I prefer that. It's like, let people figure it out with the marketing, or just realize it's like, oh, this is a sequel to that movie I liked. Doesn't need to be.
Let's use Predator again, because we got Predator, Predator 2, perfect.
Yep.
We got Predators.
They did the S. They did the classic
S.
Aliens.
The Predator. Now we're getting dumb.
Now we're getting the.
Yeah, now we're getting really fucking dumb. And then thankfully, mercifully, new movie, Prey. Good title. Yeah. Oh, and shockingly, it's not. Notice Predator is not even in the title.
Yeah.
And yet people weren't dumb enough they figured it out and they watched it.
Yeah.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that fucking crazy? Doesn't that blow your fucking minds? You fucks. This is the most heated I've got on this podcast so far. Like, Christ, I'm just tired of reading this shit.
You brought us full circle right back to Prey. So
I did.
That's impressive.
Yeah, that's a good way of ending it. Okay.
That's very good.
That's it, folks. That's all I got. This is now the end of everything. I'm going to slit my wrists not long after this. I have nothing left to contribute. Thank you for tuning in through YouTube. Please like and subscribe and fucking comment. I want to see some goddamn comments on there, except for me just being like, thanks, guys. Like, please comment. Tell us if we're wrong. Make some recommendations. I love hidden gem recommendations. And we also now have, they're going to be in the description, we have audio only versions of this.
Nice.
If you want a inferior, shittier version of this podcast, you can find us on Spotify, iTunes, and wherever the fuck else you can find podcasts. I'm on everything. I'll put some links down in the description, but if you prefer to just listen to it, you have that option now. So until next time,
Thanks for watching.
Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you again.